the maternal father of the Pokémon world. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 726. Conan is defeated. After Conan and others went to the convenience store, they unexpectedly discovered a powerful alibi. Minashiro's checkout record can still be found on the cash register of the convenience store. There is only 2 minutes difference between the time Shiro fell and Minashiro came to throw away the garbage, walked around the store, and bought a few things. The time almost coincides. The convenience store and the fall point are in completely opposite directions. In this way, the alibi is infinitely strong, unless it can be proven that Koi was pretending to be at the convenience store or had an accomplice. It will be almost impossible to overturn point. After Conan discovered this, he also fell into doubts when everyone returned to the convenience store in Minashiro. Conan immediately went to the back alley facing the place of abandonment and checked carefully. Although he had an alibi, Conan was convinced that she was using some trick. As long as she cracked her just the means. But at this moment, as she quietly said something to the Mimu police department, and then, he was faintly blocking Ko's escape route. What? Mew Mew was also surprised when he heard this. He noticed this scene and proactively reminded, Ash Junsha, we have just seen Miss Minashiro's alibi. At this time, the major police department was still staring at Minato. That's right. But just now, Mr. Amu found sticky mucus residue in the sewer pipe of Ms. Minashiro's barber shop. Iri was stunned when he heard this and looked at Minashiro in surprise, only to see Minashi's face was also livid for a while. I don't know. Minde said immediately. You the only one in the store tonight. Police department Major confirmed. That's right. Then, it seems that, no matter what the injury case is, Miss Minashiro needs to cooperate with the subsequent investigation of the dangerous goods smuggling case. Major Police Department said, as if he wanted to ask Minashiro to get into the police car, and they are also arranging for the forensic department to come over for a focused inspection. Minashi didn't expect that this would happen. She originally thought that if Jun Shafen hadn't searched carefully, there would be no traces of her handling point, and Jun Shafen cannot conduct a search tonight. Even if he has a clear alibi, at least he needs other evidence and approval. After Eminem spoke before, she was also nervous, but she originally thought that an ordinary person would not be able to see anything if he cannot turn around. But in the end, why did he even unscrew the water pipe? Is that Junsha just watching? And, isn't this search too fast? No matter how you think about it, unscrewing the water pipe is not the first step, right? Little did they know that after Eminem turned on his spiritual vision, he had an extremely keen insight into materials that can be used as medicinal materials and understand the medicinal properties by oneself. Even if they cannot be seen with physical light, they will still look like them under spiritual vision. It's like it's been highlighted point. After Eminem had been exposed to several cases of ultimate alien beast materials before, he specifically asked Grandma Rexy for relevant information. Logically speaking, this kind of information is taboo in major leagues, but, of course, Grandma Rexy has it. Therefore, Eminem can quickly discover some of the ultimate exotic beast materials that humans know have medicinal value point. So, as soon as Eminem came up, he ran towards a sewer pipe. Ash was also startled. Before he could stop him, Eminem had already twisted off a section with his bare hands, secretly using the power pay lent to him by Sakura. Then when Leixi was going crazy and didn't know how to explain it, Eminem told him there was sticky mucus residue in the water pipe. She then immediately called the appraisers who were still at the crash site to confirm what Eminem said point. Although it is only a little residue left after rinsing, it can still be identified point. Minashi also understands that there is indeed a lot of aftermath treatment that has not been carried out in the store, and now it cannot withstand detailed investigation. Okay, I understand. Regarding the injury case, I will also explain it, Minato said after sighing. Miss Minashiro, you Police Department Meju looked at Minoshiro in surprise. It wasn't long ago that he had just established that Kyo was innocent. At the same time, Conan was also in the back alley, thinking of what had just happened when Eminem dumped him, and thought of K-Day's method of committing the crime. The other party cleverly used the mechanism to make him ride a mud donkey to throw away garbage. At the same time, he also used the speed of mud donkey to pull the swivel chair, then hit the guardrail, and use the inertia to throw Silang out. That's why you hear two sounds at the beginning. First the impact, then the body falling into the garbage. After figuring this out, Conan hurriedly circled back and fixed his perspective. Then Kagoro fell asleep, but this time, the perspective was obviously too good, and Conan only saw Kagoro, but not the others. After a fascinating dance, Kagoro sat aside, on Era's feet. Yingli? What are you doing? Yingli didn't know where this was coming from. Dad, what are you doing? Xiaolan said helplessly. Ahem. Sorry, the ground is too cold. Let me lean on you. Conan also realized that the position was wrong at this time, so he had to forcefully explain. Yingli, if the ground is cold, get up quickly. Yingli said angrily. No, now is the critical moment. I will explain to everyone. Miss Minoshiro, your Conan allowed some more vision from the corner and found that Minoshiro was already being escorted. Conan? Indeed. I'm also very curious, Minoshiro. You are not taking the blame for others, are you? Yingli really didn't understand. The alibi just now was so conclusive. How could he still commit a crime? Yes, if there is an accomplice, it's best to do it now. Officer Meju was saying. Seeing that Conan was about to grab a life-saving straw, he was about to speak immediately, but Minoshiro took the initiative and said at this time, no, I did it alone. I'm sorry, Lawyer Eri. I originally wanted to use you as an alibi. I made a simple mechanism using a swivel chair and Aladdin's spider silk. The spider thread went around the railing, so when I went to the store, as long as I kept pulling on Aladdin's thread, I also dragged the swivel chair and Shilang on it in the opposite direction. And then, the next thing is very simple. Just use something of similar weight in advance and try it a few times in the middle of the night to make sure it can fall into the garbage truck. Conan moved his mouth at this time, but couldn't say anything. Basically the other party had already explained the crime clearly. If you want to hide it, there is only one thing. The thread should be tied to the mud donkey boy. After all, the force of the impact was very strong. If he pulled it by himself, he might be pulled off, and his palms would be injured, making it easy to be discovered. Chapter 727 Identity Crisis. Conan still remembered that Eminem also said that the mud donkey boy was pretending to be stupid when he asked him. So I understand that Kaishiro lied at this time. However, Minish's lies now are just to protect the muddy kid who has been protecting him, and Conan has not exposed it. Mitayo, why haven't you already broken up? Who cares what that kind of man does? Eri asked angrily. I'm sorry, but we made an appointment, and I will be the one to give him haircuts for the rest of my life, but after he became famous. In this case, I just need to clear up the recent events. I thought it was okay. Although Minato apologized to Eri, he showed a yandere expression. Although some of the words did not convey the meaning, everyone still heard it. She probably felt that Silang missed the game and was probably going to have a brain problem, and then he could start over. No, there's no need to be so extreme. If only I had known that I would help you prepare a potion that can prevent hair from growing. Eminem said regretfully from the side. Minoshiro, everyone, well, this can be regarded as I will give him haircuts for the rest of his life. After all, there will be no haircuts in the future. Seeing everyone's speechless expressions, Eminem thought they didn't believe it, so he said, what's wrong? Even I can't make people grow hair, but I can definitely make people stop growing hair. Eminem has recently gained a lot of experience in body hair growth because he is treating Mayo. Although little mountain pigs and humans are two different species, the principles are the same. Please be sure not to do this. It is also illegal. Mew Mew rolled his eyes, but Eminem said unconvinced, huh? Mew Mew Police Department, I'm going to criticize you for this. You know the law. What kind of harm is it to make people go bald? It's not a harm at all to make people go bald. And the medicine I prepared is, you can completely avoid all the prohibited items, and it is absolutely not illegal to trade it to others. If she uses it for others, it will only be a civil dispute at most. Measure. I always feel that there is something wrong with your understanding of the law. Hey. At this moment, Kagoro suddenly woke up, fell down, and looked up at Eri in confusion. From this angle, Kagoro muttered instinctively, it's always been this color. Yingli, who was wearing a hip-hugging skirt, had a tic-tac-toe pop up above her head. Sexy old man. He immediately kicked Kagoro and turned away. Fortunately, Xiaolin was there. Conan also realized at this time that he had just gotten into trouble and immediately stepped forward to divert attention by being cute and then stopped Yingli. But Eminem suddenly noticed that Maya's expression when she looked at Conan was weird. Uncle, Kagoro is really. Amu stood next to her and muttered, trying to divert Maya's attention. However, Maya said firmly at this time, no, there was a ghost type Pokémon that attacked my brother-in-law just now. It should be. Eminem found that she was already aiming at Conan's wrist. Wait a minute. Seeing Maya coming over aggressively, Eminem quickly grabbed him first. Maya turned her head and looked at Eminem in surprise. There are very complicated reasons here, Eminem said quickly. Maya looked at Eminem strangely. Really? But my brother-in-law. I promise. I will explain it to you later. Eminem promised immediately. Now that we have met them all, and Conan has finished his power, Eminem, Sonoko, and Zao will also go to dinner with everyone. Eminem has already called Sonoko, who stayed at the barber shop, and Shuchi has also just drive and ask him to send Yuanzi and Zao over. Anyway, he must be on his way to get off work. Today's young people, Maya said, pretending to be old-fashioned. Slim Shady. It seemed that she perked up after realizing that she called Kagoro brother-in-law and Eminem called him uncle. As for Conan's matter, Eminem is prepared to let him make it up on his own. After all, it was him who was discovered by Maya. But this is really the first time that the hypnosis technique of that strange dream demon has been discovered. Ming Ming had hypnotized Kagoro in front of everyone in the court without anyone noticing. Maya's ghost type talent is really not limited. Conan should stay with me. Eminem was just about to take Conan on a horse ride and asked him to prepare how to explain his identity being exposed. But Xiaolin hugged Conan directly at this time and said, don't bother, I'll take him. Seeing Conan pretending to be reluctant, Eminem suspected this kid just complained to Xiaolin and threw him down. Then, okay. Eminem looked at Conan pityingly. Conan still had an expression like, don't look at me like that. I don't want to sit on Xiaolin's lap either. Eminem had no choice but to remind Conan that Xiaolin's aunt is about to discover your identity. When Amu arrived at the hotel Xiaolin and the others had booked, it turned out that Yuanzi and Xiaoi had also been sent by Ziui. And Conan, did you let Xiaolin hug you again? Yuanzi deliberately laughed at this time. Normally, Conan would just smile, while Xiaolin would change the topic to prevent her best friend from continuing to laugh at Conan as a little boy. But this time, Conan's expression was solemn, and Xiaolin's expression was a bit off. What seems to be happening in the car? When Eminem and others entered the large private room, Conan immediately followed and sat down next to Eminem. Conan, won't you sit next to me? Xiaolin asked in a strange tone at this time. No, Xiaolin, sister. Conan looked a little guilty. And as soon as his bed touched the chair, he immediately jumped up and said, brother Eminem, I need to go to the toilet. After saying that, he pulled Amu to go out. Eminem also felt strange at first, then glanced at Maya, and sure enough, the latter also said at this time, I also want to go to the toilet. Little Conan, let me accompany you. Maya, Yingli reminded from the side. When Maya heard this, she stuck out her tongue and said, I need to go to the bathroom. So Eminem followed, and the three of them walked out together. Conan wanted to drag Eminem into the men's room at first, but Eminem looked at Maya, who was following him, and pulled him out of the hotel and into a secluded alley nearby. Conan saw this. I started to realize more and more that something was wrong. Okay, Maya already knows about the fact that you use the dream demon to help Uncle Kagoro solve the case. Please confess and be lenient, Eminem finally reminded Conan. Maya just discovered the dream demon. You can figure it out yourself. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 728 Bribery. Conan also didn't expect that Aunt Maya's ghost system talent was so strong that she could see through dream monsters, but the best thing about Misfortune is, although Maya is very talented in ghost type, her brain is not very good. Conan's brain raced, and he made up a series of reasons. I just wanted to help Uncle Kagoro solve the case. The idea for solving the case was also provided by Meng. Yayo, I'm just a little smart elementary school student and Maya, he actually got fooled by him, so that's it. It turns out to be such a magical dream demon. Maya was also surprised. At first, Conan thought it was too fake and Maya was making fun of herself, but then Maya said, can you let it out? I want to be friends with it. Of course, but I have to ask it. Conan said and pressed his watch. Meng, I saw the dream demon, and then the real body appeared. Maya immediately started to communicate with the dream demon like a curious baby. Ghost talent is already so high, it is strange that they can't communicate. Taking advantage of this moment, Eminem asked the relieved Conan, she didn't discover your identity? What happened to Xiaolan? Hearing Eminem talk about Xiaolan, Conan was immediately shuddered, and then said dejectedly, she didn't see it, but, in the car, she asked Xiaolan about how I was good at solving crimes, and Xiaolan asked I thought of something, and now I'm starting to doubt me. Eminem suddenly understood after hearing this. Maya was sure that it was Conan's dream demon that hypnotized Kagoro, but she was wondering how a child solved the case. So when she asked Xiaolan about Conan, she continued with this, the more I inquired, the more Xiaolan realized that something was wrong. Now Maya has been fooled here, but the real danger has not been fooled yet. The communication between Meng Yao and Maya, won't the secret be revealed? Amu asked curiously. If it were just an ordinary Pokémon, you would definitely wonder how could it possibly solve the case. No, Meng likes reasoning. Conan is no longer worried about Maya. Well, this incubus is obviously not an ordinary Pokémon. Not only does it have special abilities, but its personality is as special as Eminem's Ghost Stone. I don't mean the same personality, but the same degree of specialness. Ghost Stone is skin, while Conan's dream demon is calm and good at logical reasoning. Sure enough, Maya was fooled by the dream demon, but at this time, Maya still said very deliberately, but I always feel that my brother-in-law is a bit pitiful. Do you really not want to tell him? At least you should tell my sister, right? No. Didn't Uncle also become a famous detective? Conan said immediately, it's just that you are confused. You will be laughed at by others, right? Maya looked worried. How could? Conan thought to himself, Uncle, don't tell me how beautiful you are. He doesn't take it seriously at all. Eminem interrupted Conan directly and said to Maya, please keep this matter a secret for now. I will treat you to ramen. Well, since you said so, for the sake of you guys not having any bad intentions, I'll keep it a secret for now. Maya said happily. Conan, you can't say that. It's just his own business. I just didn't expose him. I didn't conspire with him. Eminem wanted to get rid of the relationship first, lest Xiaolan be reluctant to let go of her childhood sweetheart and come to settle a score with herself. Of course, Maya couldn't be bought off with just a few ramen. In fact, through communication with the dream demon, she first confirmed that Conan and the dream demon were indeed just solving the case and had no bad intentions, and then taking the opportunity to blackmail Eminem. Before coming to visit her sister, Maya's favorite food was bone-in steak. Although the recipes at Hogwarts are rich, Perhaps because there are too many variations, Maya prefers to go back to the basics. After coming to visit her sister, Maya's two favorite foods are ramen and bone-in steak. It's just that Eri thinks that Maya is still growing and protein is more important than starch, so she usually restricts her eating ramen. Aunt Yingli is also doing it for your own good. I can't be too. Ahem. I mean, you can ask for more toppings and less noodles. Eminem said very principledly. Really, sister too. Ramen has the stomach of ramen, and bone-in steak has the stomach of bone-in steak. Isn't this common sense? Maya shook her head, not knowing what common sense it was. Can't the food curse at Hogwarts make ramen? Eminem asked curiously. Eminem had only heard of the food curse in Crowley Rideau's time. The food curse had not yet been developed. Food curse is essentially a delayed prediction of the future. It is a very advanced magic. I haven't learned it yet, Maya said and shook her head. The normal effect of future prediction is to send part of the mental power to a certain moment in the future, usually on the battlefield. That is, after 2 or 3 skills. After Maya explained, Amu understood. Food curse is a fictional past that allows a caster to send pieces of food in the past to the future at the time of casting. Even if this past does not exist, you can still receive food. Eminem had a vague feeling that this seemed like an ancient scholar. However, the power of this ancient scholar has been weakened too much. He only took out food from the past. That is to say, the level is still very high, but the effect level is very low. Eminem feels that the power of his god's path seems to be the same. Otherwise the effect of his current medicine should be stronger, right? By the way, how is Harry Potter at Hogwarts now? Amu asked Maya curiously. How do you know Harry Potter? Maya looked at Eminem in surprise. Eminem was a little puzzled when he saw this. Harry Potter is so famous in the wizarding world of Gala. As a relevant person, is it strange that he knows this? I also heard that Uncle Dundo leaked something once. Harry Potter will come to school next year. I don't know what kind of person he is. Maya also said curiously at this time, you won't go to school until next year. Amu was stunned when he heard this. Immediately she realized what she said before. Their mother was involved in that case 10 years ago when Voldemort had been defeated for some time and the Gala wizarding world was cleaning up the remaining Death Eaters. In other words, Voldemort died 10 or 11 years ago. Based on this calculation, it is true that Harry Potter will only turn 12 next year. Hogwarts also starts on March 1st. Eminem asked curiously. Yes, it is said that it was changed to be consistent with schools in major leagues for convenience. Maya nodded. I don't know who it is for convenience. Chapter 729. What is needed most at the press conference? After Maya went back to the private room, Eminem looked at Conan, who was not feeling well, patted him on the shoulder and said, okay, man, can Zylan beat you to death? Let her know that at home. Who calls the shots? Conan glanced sideways at Eminem, who was obviously gloating. Immediately, Conan reminded, you just found the evidence and made the barber confess, right? You did guess it right this time, but if you are not a prosecutor or a lawyer, it is best not to use this kind of reverse proof logic. Huh. Eminem was stunned when he heard this. At first he thought the boy was unconvinced, but then he felt that he had other intentions. This is the so-called prosecutor's logic. It is for the purpose of convicting people, not solving the case. Conan reminded, prosecutors. Logic? Eminem didn't understand yet. Conan. After listening to Conan's explanation, Eminem understood what he meant. Indeed, evidence similar to that found by Eminem is essentially reverse logic. If the prisoner is not you, how can there be venom residue in your sewers? It's just, is there really no other reason? Eminem doesn't know what it was like in the world before Eminem traveled through time, but in this world, it is true that prosecutors have this kind of logic, which means it has nothing to do with reality, and it can only be substituted into reversal. And Conan explain why the prosecutor in the reversal is so annoying. Comments that allude to or discuss reality are not welcome in this book, and will be banned forever. This is even more obvious in Ace Attorney. Many times, because the protagonist of the manipulation is a lawyer, I will feel that the opponent prosecutor is very unreasonable. Obviously I can prove that the defendant is innocent. Just like the previous case, if Kyo really refuses to admit it, and she is assigned a lawyer like Right Phoenix who adheres to the principle of absolute trust, a scene that makes Ryuichi angry will appear in the court. The lawyer can provide an alibi, but the prosecutor can still use the venom residue in the sewer and other more clues found in the barber shop to establish evidence point as for why there is an alibi. Of course it was because of the defendant's tricks. As for what means, you don't need to know so clearly to be able to convict. From this point of view, most of the prisoners in Conan will still be found guilty in court, even if they are not caught by detectives and arrested on the spot point, just like the prosecutor in Ace Attorney, just like the Kyujo prosecutor in Conan. But detectives are different. What they pursue is not proof but clear truth. That is, positive logic. I want to know how you committed the crime and get positive evidence point. As for lawyers, it is overturning logic. As long as they can overturn the evidence, it is considered successful. There is no need for forward logic or reverse logic. Only loopholes need to be found point. People like Long Yi, who often have to make reports in court to testify against other prisoners, are special cases. Therefore, no matter whether lawyers or prosecutors are loyal to their duties, what they do is not necessarily objectively correct. The losing party is not wrong, but it is the tug of war between the two parties that makes the final result closer to reality point. If a detective is loyal to his duties and never lies or makes up anything, what he does will definitely not be wrong. But not wrong and correct are two different things. The detective has the option of unable to find out the truth. Lawyers and prosecutors cannot take a step back point. This is what Conan wants to remind Eminem. There is no shame in being a detective, even if you can't solve the case point. However, if you put yourself in the position of a lawyer or a prosecutor to report others and argue and establish evidence, you need to have the corresponding awareness. Just like Conan himself, unless the case is completely smoothed out and only direct evidence is needed, which may be a little bit deceived, Conan will not reveal any clues or partial inferences, even if he finds them point. This is also his principle as a detective, essentially finding the truth, not to prove who is the culprit point. However, Eminem just shrugged and said, I just caught up, and the case happens to be related to the ultimate alien beast material, otherwise I wouldn't bother to take care of it. This is true. If Eminem really liked solving crimes, she wouldn't hide from Conan. After all, Eminem is not White Tower Path and does not have a detective profession. Otherwise, if you follow Conan for a few rounds, you will at least get the rank point. At the same time, Conan's words also reminded Eminem of the notary public, of the Sun Path, and the lawyer of the Black Emperor Path. If Eminem followed these paths, he would probably benefit a lot. But he doesn't have much to do with Eminem now. After returning to the private room, Conan also heard Yuanzi talk about Eminem leaving tomorrow. Eminem booked a flight for tomorrow, December 23rd. After arriving in Gyeonghang City, Eminem took Zio AI and rode a horse back to Sangzhou town. He could arrive there in 2 or 3 hours. The Chinese New Year is coming soon. After the Chinese New Year, there will be a school festival. It's really a beautiful thing. I just don't know if Shinichi will come back. Don't you think so, Conan? Xiaolan smiled at Conan at this time, asked, people don't know, hehe. Conan said nervously. At this time, Yuanzi heard the topic of the school festival, so she suddenly said to Eminem, by the way, talking about the school festival, after the press conference between you and Dr. Jumu, we will be in Golden City. School festival? I should go. Eminem nodded. The press conference is on January 12th and the school festival is on the 16th, both in Golden City. No, I mean, should we also hold a press conference in the next few days? Yuanzi obviously had some ideas. You mean Mom's classroom? Eminem also knew that Yuanzi wanted to hold a press conference that was related to him, which was also related to Mother's classroom. That's right. You will definitely be very popular by then, but announcing it at Dr. Jumu's press conference seems to have less publicity. Let's just hold a press conference ourselves, Yuanzi said enthusiastically. It Does make sense. But there is a problem. Eminem scratched his head. Funds? I will go to my mother to apply for the funds. There will be no problem. Yuanzi was full of confidence. No, I mean there is a more critical problem. That is, we have nothing to release. Eminem said awkwardly. Yuanzi's expression froze when he heard this. Indeed, the timing is just right. Funding is not a problem. Traffic is not a problem. But there are no products or results to release. How about I make preparations during the Chinese New Year and give you news after a while? Eminem is still ready to work hard. Chapter 730 Go Home. Alliance December 23rd. 200 point without Conan's bonus. Eminem went very smoothly. After secretly treating Mayor to ramen at the airport in the morning, he took off from Rainbow City and landed at Kyanhang City Airport at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. At 3:20, we had returned to Sangzhou town. Hey, Sister King Mui, I'm about to get on the plane. Yes, I'll arrive in 2 hours. Yes, you can go out. After Eminem arrived at the door, he made a phone call using the illustrated book. Zioa I curled her lips at this childish behavior. Then I saw Sister King Mui just coming out of the cabin and she saw Eminem. While she was stunned, Eminem had already hugged her. King Mui exclaimed as she was picked up and spun around, and then excitedly said helplessly, really, how old are you? Where's Grandma Rexy? Eminem asked after putting down Sister King Mui, doing, no wonder. Sister King Mui exclaimed again. Seeing Eminem's surprised expression, King Mui explained, Grandma has been planning to cook for noon, and I said it was too early. Grandma still understands you. Originally, King Mui thought it was too early, and she would be cold by the time Eminem came back. But Grandma Rexy has always been stubborn. She said she wanted to start preparing, so she started preparing. There was nothing King Mui could do. Now that I think about it, Grandma Rexy was preparing according to Eminem's takeoff time and the arrival time. After all, Eminem actually didn't refuse King Mui to pick him up, and specifically emphasized that it might be late. I'll call back before taking off to inform him to go out. Rexy was so old that he could naturally guess that he wanted to do some work. During the meal, Eminem was not allowed to rest. Similarly, he was not nagged like other grandsons. Instead, he had to explain everything about the medicinal materials in the medicinal diet, as well as the principles of their combination, and he also had to answer questions. Grandma Ike's question: it is conceivable that, if Eminem really relaxes his studies in pharmaceutics, he may not have a good year this year. The things that Grandma Leixi tested on Amu were not the knowledge he had mastered in the past, or things that were memorized. They were also an examination of his learning progress. If it was about other things, King Mui would definitely persuade her grandma to just eat at this time, but she didn't dare to get involved in the current topic. Otherwise, Grandma Leixi would probably scold her if she asked her questions that she couldn't answer. Although King Mui is also very outstanding among her peers and young pharmacists, but if she is compared with Eminem, there is no comparison point, so King Mui pretended to be a coward and watched over Zioai's meals, fearing that she would be shy and not eat well. During the Kanto rookie competition, Eminem said that Zioai was his sister, but Grandma Leixi denied it, and it was just lazy. Grandma Z did not ask further questions and vaguely guessed that Zioai meant something dangerous. However, King Mui obviously would not have thought that the little girl in front of her who looked only 7 or 8 years old was already 17 or 18 years old. A meal. Finish safely. In the previous words, Eminem thought that this meant that she had passed safely, but at this time, Grandma Rexy was still frowning and continued. King Mui, you are going to wash the dishes. Eminem, come in, immediately. Eminem also felt a little guilty because he usually washes the dishes by himself, usually being criticized as all because of Sister King Mui, but Eminem reviewed it in his mind and always felt that his performance should be very good. Even Eminem felt that during this little year of traveling, he had made rapid progress in pharmacy. He read thousands of books. You also have to travel thousands of miles. For Eminem, it is both a trainer's journey and a pharmacist's journey. Although it often turns into a suspense trip, if you look at Eminem's diary, you will know that he spends more time training Pokémon and learning pharmacy. I'm here to help, too. ZOAI then followed King Mui into the kitchen. After all, Eminem couldn't produce his diarrhea as evidence, so he was still a little nervous. After being brought into the pharmacy hut by Grandma Leixi, it seems that you also read a lot of literature and the latest papers during your vacation. This is very good. Grandma Leixi praised Eminem at the beginning. Of course, Eminem did not dare to argue and said, "It's not a vacation, it's the trainer's trip," but it must be noted that if you don't have enough discernment skills, then it is best not to pay attention to things written by so-called bullshit expert pharmacists. Grandma Reich warned Eminem, who was also just a shit expert, that's not the most important thing. Your knowledge of pharmacy is indeed very solid, but it lacks some vitality. Following Grandma Rex's words, Eminem's mood transitioned from nervousness and apprehension to expectation. It seems that, although Grandma Lexi is a little dissatisfied, these dissatisfactions will undoubtedly help Eminem's improvement, rather than simply being dissatisfied. Eminem doesn't work hard enough. Of course, from Reich's point of view, it's hard to blame Eminem for not working hard enough, although in terms of pure level, the progress is minimal. This is also a normal phenomenon. After reaching Eminem's level, you have to accumulate a lot of experience before you can make great progress. But in terms of knowledge, Eminem can no longer use a sponge to absorb water to describe it. It is simply like a pleasure sucks water. Leixi thought that when he was Eminem's age, he was inferior to Eminem in terms of knowledge and pharmacy skills, and he was a man of medicine. However, it is easy for Leixi to give advice to Eminem, and he is one of the very few people who can still give advice to Eminem on pharmacy, and because I know Eminem well, my advice is straight to the point. So, try to publish some papers, and develop some medicines that meet your level. Although the standards of those magazines are nonsense and the level of review is only that, the point is not them, but that you should make your own. Think more actively. Grandma Lexi said at this time. Grandma Lexi, I actually have some ideas about this. Eminem said at this time. Is it related to genetics? I see how much knowledge you have. Recently, in addition to ultra beast materials, it's also about Pokémon genetics. It's good to have ideas, but don't be too ambitious. Grandma Lexi said. She taught. Indeed, the new potion conceived by Eminem. One is a combat potion that allows Pokémon to be stimulated and improved simultaneously by the opponent's ability in battle, and the other is more terrifying. It can reverse the opponent's ability. Innate, a medicine that enables Pokémon who have not inherited skills to acquire inherited skills. Both are related to genes. Even the former, ability improvement, is also an expression of motivating gene segments. On the one hand, it is because the two major pathways, Moon and Mother, have the authority to inherit and reproduce. For Eminem, it can be said to have additional bonuses. On the other hand, it is also related to the next stage of career. Choose something. About Chapter 731 Plan. Eminem has traveled through time and has acquired 3 professions: Sequence 9, Pharmacist; Sequence 8, Animal Tamer; and Sequence 7, Harvest Priest. They gave Eminem the talent of pharmacy, the talent of trainer, and the bond with Leixi. Regarding the promotion of Harvest Priest, Kuro Rido has already given Eminem a hint. As long as he is a human being, he is not playing tricks on Eminem this time. When Eminem finds the water card and tree card and stimulates a resurgence of vitality at Leixi's place, which is the land he is bound to, it should be enough to be promoted. Otherwise, Eminem can be promoted even if he spends his time. After all, if he continues to farm, a harvest will come sooner or later, but it will take a long time. The combination of water card and tree card can greatly reduce the time required. And when Eminem completes the role of Harvest Priest and is promoted to Sequence 6, the professions that can be chosen are Potion Professor from Moon Path and Biologist from Mother Path. The former, as the name suggests, further enhances Eminem's talent in pharmaceuticals and allows the medicines he refines to have unique effects, that is, to produce mystical effects. Even if the same formula and the same technique are used, others cannot refine the same potion. This is not a special case of God's path. In the words of Grandma Leixi, master pharmacists have this ability more or less, opposite of the Potions professor is the biologist. The effect is that Eminem will have a better understanding of various creatures and will have unique abilities in the fields of reproduction and hybridization. If the former is the enhanced version of medicine master, then the latter is the enhanced version of beast tamer. Without considering any other factors, Eminem should choose the latter. After all, this is the Pokémon world, not a world where potions are king point of course. For Eminem, the former is also cost effective because extraordinary potions can also be used on Pokémon, right? It's just that in Eminem's mind, biologist's score is a little higher, just a little bit point, but other factors also exist objectively and must also be considered. For example, one very important point, the further sequence 5 must be Crimson Scholar and Druid, and the core ability of the latter must be Transformation, which is similar to Pokémon Wizard ability point in sequence 5. Eminem must have chosen the transformed Druid instead of the Crimson Scholar, who is more inclined to improve his own strength. Judging from the current situation in this world, the energy level of God's Path is severely suppressed, so transformation is more reliable point, and Druid is also the sequence of Mother Path. In this way, if you choose biologist in sequence 6, then in sequence 7/6/5, Eminem will choose Fairy System, Ghost System, Fairy System, Ghost System, etc. Evil System. Eminem can't get enough of these 3 series of talents even once. Similarly, Eminem can't even get the lifespan and appearance brought by the Moon Path, and promotion in the sequence is not a matter of course point. The promotion of Potion Professor is probably related to refining potions, and this is Eminem's strength point. Choosing Potion Professor will make your promotion more certain, and it will also greatly improve Eminem as a trainer, especially the expansion of attributes, which can be said to be very important. Therefore, Eminem is now more inclined to choose Poison Professor. Even if something unexpected happens, and Eminem has to choose biologist, he will also be interested in the potion that Eminem wants to refine now. The help. After all, they are all genetic and genetic medicines. Note 1. However, Eminem can't rely on these 2 medicines for the time being. Point not only is it a matter of wanting to hold a press conference, but according to what Grandma Ike said, Eminem now also needs to develop some formulas to activate his brain. After receiving a warning from Grandma Lexi, Eminem realized that it was impossible to turn into a Kirby beast in one bite, and he had to do it step by step. Arthur Wissinder. The assignment of Eminem. Leixi has only developed some perfume as a byproduct in the outsourced Casso Pharmacy Research Institute for such a long time, so Eminem also began to think about the new drug that takes a small step forward. Eminem is going to make some basic plans tonight, and then discuss it with Grandma Lexi tomorrow. There are only a few perfumes now. How about I try a perfume that improves the success rate of mating? Eminem was talking to himself when he noticed that ZioAI was looking at him with a perverted look. Well, I always feel like I'm on the verge of being banned by the Alliance. Eminem thought about it for a while and chose to give up the idea. By the way, Mayo, if you want to refine the potion for Mayo, you can consider universal improvements. Amu suddenly realized at this moment that he had a good project in hand. During the day, Eminem also asked Grandma Leixi for advice on the final preparations for Mayo and Gungan before they evolved. Regarding the majestic teeth that Gungan wanted to evolve, Grandma Leixi also made some lofty suggestions, which made Eminem suspect that Grandma Leixi had also been to Pada Mayo, who had a defect due to the awakening of thick fat. To level 1, is currently preparing to evolve from long-haired pig to ivory pig. Grandma Lexi even reminded Eminem of a point that she had ignored before. In the past, Eminem's treatment for Mayo has always been to suppress thick fat so that its growth rate can be naturally increased. After it evolves into an ivory pig, it can naturally tolerate the thick fat. Awaken to level 1. However, Grandma Leixi suggested that he should think more about it from the perspective of evolution for a pharmacist of Eminem's level. This level of reminder is enough. Eminem also thought about it later, that evolution is all about explosive mutation. Although there are still many things that humans don't know about the evolution of Pokémon, they at least have a rough idea, and Eminem is around him now. There is a doctor in evolution, Dr. Shirley Point. After discussing with ZioAI, Eminem decided to add a medicine that promotes hair growth in addition to the drug that inhibits thick fat. In a few days, the two medicines used on Mayo actually have commercial value if they can be universally improved, which correspond to losing weight and growing hair in these two major fields. Even if you can't compete for all the credit, as long as you can be slightly valuable, you will still have a bright future. Note 1. In the 9th generation game, the effect of imitate vanilla in battle and picnic is divided into two new potions. When the opponent's ability increases, the self will also increase, and rubbing the genetic skills of the Pokémon we had a picnic with. Chapter 732 Majestic Teeth. Alliance December 28th. 200 points. Sister King Mui has already gone to Kai Hang Market to buy New Year goods and prepare for the new year, but Eminem is still busy with his experiments these days. Although Grandma Leixi has a sharp tongue and will not directly tell Eminem what to do, she will give Eminem some advice at critical moments. If Eminem was just an ordinary young talented pharmacist, then if he begged Rexy at this moment, maybe she would give him a direct answer and then let him review it on his own. Point but Eminem is already an expert pharmacist, and Reich doesn't think that would bring him any help in terms of pharmacy, so it took one day for Eminem to refine the Little Elephant Ancient Evolution Potion, and another 2 days to refine the Fat Suppression Potion and Hair Growth Potion. Today Eminem is going to try to guide evolution. Originally Eminem wanted to ask Grandma Rexy to watch to avoid any accidents, but Grandma Rexy said she had an important order today and asked Eminem not to bother her. The ability of a master pharmacist is generally reflected in two aspects. On the one hand, it is the development of universal pharmaceuticals. Once such pharmaceuticals are developed, even if they cannot be mass-produced, they can at least be refined by other first-level or expert pharmacists, refining in batches. On the other hand, there are unique potions or some special formula potions that can only be refined by master pharmacists. The materials usually used for such potions are not destined to be refined in batches. Generally, they often require king level, even king level Pokémon materials. The one that the Gold Hole owner asked Eminem to refine before falls into this category, but the refining is not that difficult, and even the expert Eminem can control it. Point usually no one will make universal improvements to this type of medicine. After all, the raw materials have already been determined, and it is impossible to produce them on a large scale and then put them on the shelves. In terms of making money, the pharmacists who develop universal formulas are definitely rich. However, the role of the latter cannot be measured by money. When the owner of the Gold Hole asked Amu to refine the potion, he was bartering. Grandma Leixi spends most of her time like an ordinary old pharmacist, taking orders from surrounding towns, or directly helping her neighbors in Sangzao town to make potions. But if it is an important order, then it must be an order sent by an important person and someone who knows Grandma Leix's true strength. Even if Eminem wants to OEM, he may not be at that level, and Eminem, who knows Grandma Rexy, understands that this is not a problem with the order, but that Grandma Rexy does not want to be in a guaranteed situation. What to do? Tension is also part of the growth of a pharmacist, and it is something that needs to be overcome. Otherwise, even if there is an order, it will not be short of half a day. Therefore, Eminem didn't say much. Early in the morning, Eminem took ZioAI to the woods behind Sangzao town, preparing to promote the final evolution of Gungan and Mayo. There was not enough room at home, especially the largest pharmacy room used by Grandma Reich. When Eminem came all the way, he greeted the townspeople he met. The town is not big, and most of them knew each other at home. In the eyes of the residents of the town, Eminem, who was already an expert pharmacist, became someone else's child and a better person than his predecessor. After all, everyone didn't know Grandma Leix's abilities and only regarded her as an ordinary pharmacist. Although for Sangzao town, an ordinary pharmacist had enough status. After all, there were no big hospitals in the town, and everyone usually had minor scratches. headaches and fever, all pointed at Grandma Leixi, but apparently no one thought that Grandma Leixi would be a master who had reached the pinnacle of pharmacy. Even King Mui is considered someone else's child, let alone Eminem, the youngest expert pharmacist who has been in the news. The townspeople probably think that it was Grandma Leixi who brought Amu in. After that, Amu improved quickly enough and spent several months traveling abroad to study, and then she became an expert pharmacist. Eminem couldn't explain to everyone on his behalf, so he had to accept the flattery with some embarrassment, introduced his sister to everyone, and then went all the way to the forest to the west of the town. At this time, Eminem released all 6 Pokémon. Except for Fluffy, they were Ghost, Pippi, Small Pleen, and Ali. Amu also went to the Pokémon Center in the town to change this, because he needed other Pokémon during the period, so he had to be careful around him to avoid wild Pokémon causing trouble. Small planes can provide early warning in the air, and powerful force can deter the most insect-type Pokémon in the wild. Ghost and Pippi, as long as they don't cause trouble, their IQ can handle most situations, and in fact, it's not far from the town, and there aren't many wild Pokémon. You guys should be careful around here, Amu said to the 4 of them. Then he looked at Gungan, then at Mayo, and then looked back at Gungan and said, Gungan comes first. After taking this potion, your body will be in a state closer to that of an ancient little elephant. In half an hour take this potion again. This is used to undo the unchangeable potion you took before. Gungan has actually been able to evolve for a long time, but Eminem has been using potions to suppress it. After Gungan drank the first potion, his body gradually began to turn red and his body temperature began to rise. 15 minutes later, his muscles seemed to have swelled a bit and became more round. At 17 minutes, the white light of evolution began to flash on his body occasionally. Seeing this, SYNOPSIS immediately reminded, quick, use the second potion in advance. She judged that it was a unchangeable potion that was already uncontrollable. In order to avoid accidents, Eminem directly gave Gungan an evolution promoting potion in advance. Different from the ordinary little elephant evolution promoting potions, the one that Eminem gave Gungan added some ingredients that tend to stimulate the speed of skill accumulation. The racial value of Majestic Fang is not only higher than that of Dungunner is higher, and the proportion should be more focused on speed. After evolution, the speed racial value is 87 points. Although it is not a fast Pokémon, it is no longer slow. As soon as the second potion was taken out, Gungan's whole body immediately flashed with a continuous light of evolution, and in the light, I saw the bellowing body gradually expanding, first reaching a height of more than 1 meter, and then stopped under Eminem's anxious eyes. At this time, Eminem and SYNOPSIS used the third spray, spraying it around Gungan. Unlike ordinary evolution, the light of evolution has not been extinguished, but has continued to expand. After stagnating for a period of time. After a while, it expanded to a height of nearly 2 meters, and, even if it was still flashing, the huge tusks were clearly visible. Chapter 733 Ivory Pig. Although the body shapes of Majestic Tusk and Dungyre are similar, the way the ivory rolls upward is completely different from that of Dungyre, and you can see raised armor plates on its body, even though the light had not dissipated. After discovering the appearance of these features, Amu breathed a sigh of relief and understood that Gungan was successful. It is a little regrettable that when nearly 2 meters, the light of evolution begins to gradually dissipate. Generally speaking, the average height of the Dungyre race is 1.1 meters, while the Majestic Yam is 2.2 meters. Although Pokemon's qualifications are not necessarily related to height and size, height is indeed a major criterion for powerful Pokemon such as Dungeon and Majestic Fang. From this point of view, Gungan's qualifications have been reduced after evolving. Generally speaking, there will be no such difference before and after evolution, but Amu has caused Gungan to overdraw part of his potential and evolve into the form of Majestic Teeth. This is actually what Eminem expected, and he will naturally make up for it later. Roll. Gungan roared now, much more powerful than before. Although it still has a round body at this time, it no longer has the cuteness of a little elephant, but looks as oppressive as a prehistoric giant. The characteristic has also become the ancient activity, unique to the Padian ancient Pokémon. Sure enough, it is ancient activity. Is this because the power of the sun was stronger in the era when they lived? Amu murmured curiously. Ancient activity. On a sunny day, that is, when the power of the sun is strong, your strongest attributes will be further improved. In addition, there is a special energy bottle in the Paleo region. If an ancient Pokémon carries it, it can avoid the prerequisites of ancient activity and trigger it directly. This is actually one of the reasons why some people suspect that Paleo's ancient Pokémon is not a true ancient form, but a derivation result. ZioAI said at this time point as a doctor in evolution, although ZioAI's main research direction is not Paleo's paradoxical Pokémon, he must have read a lot of related literature. There are many kinds of Pokémon living in the same place, but they actually have the same characteristics and even the same racial values. This is indeed very un-Pokémon, but whether it is a real ancient Pokémon or some other existence, in short, Gungan has evolved successfully, even if the individual correction rate is temporarily reduced due to overdraft of potential majestic tooth's majestic racial value of 570 is still stronger than Dungear's racial value of 500 and this reduction in individual correction rate is not irreversible. Gungan's success greatly increased Eminem's confidence. Together with ZioAI, they carefully checked Gungan's various indicators. After confirming that everything was normal, Eminem let him go aside to rest. Then Eminem patted Mayo, who was also worried at the sight. As a long-haired pig, Mayo's hair was a little sparse, but it was not completely bald-like when he first saw it. However, from the quality to the amount of hair, there are obviously some abnormalities. If you are an uninformed person, if you really see the appearance of Mayo, you will mistakenly think that this is a long-haired pig with poor qualifications, but now it is actually stronger than the ordinary hairy pig with the same growth rate, and part of the effect of thick fat LV1 can already be exerted. This part alone makes it more frost resistant than ordinary long-haired pigs, even if the hair is not good. It has fat to make up for it. When you get closer, you can smell it. Mayo's hair appears less, but the smell of hair grease is stronger. Eminem is ready to work hard to help Mayo promote evolution. The reason why we start with Gungan first is because Gungan is more difficult, at least Eminem thinks. So although the evolution of little elephant to majestic tusk is an abnormal evolution, and the evolution of hairy pig to ivory pig is a completely normal thing, but Mayo's natural, thick fat level 1 has indeed greatly increased the difficulty of its growth. Eminem first used a medicated bath to suppress Mayo's thick fat level 1, and then Eminem added a drug to stimulate hair growth into the medicated bath. Compared to the previous situation, Mayo was undoubtedly much more stable. Half an hour later, Eminem used his animal senses, as planned, fully stimulating Mayo's primitive power. Generally speaking, mastering primordial power is a necessary condition for the evolution of hairy pig into ivory pig. And now that Eminem has inspired the primordial power in its genetic genes, Mayo immediately meets the conditions for evolution. At the same time, the wooden barrel of the medicinal bath was deliberately broken. At this time, the originally suppressed thick fat level 1 began to recover, and the effect of promoting hair growth was still there. I saw the white light of evolution blooming on Mayo's body. In a flash, Mayo expanded from just over 1 meter tall to over 2 meters tall, taller than Gungan. Gungan, who was originally proud, felt uncomfortable. Get out, get out, he shouted, unconvinced. Ivory pig is the final evolutionary form of little mountain boar family, with an average height of 2.5 meters, which is originally larger than majestic tusk. Ivory pigs are very rare in the wild. You can tell by looking at the evolutionary conditions. Ordinary little mountain pigs only evolve into long-haired pigs long after they reach adulthood. Most long-haired pigs do not will evolve further. It is different from races like Badadai, which evolve normally when they grow up. Among this type of Pokémon, the individuals that can evolve are generally stronger as an individual born with thick fat level 1. Mayo's qualifications are absolutely top notch, but her previous physique could not support her qualifications. so she was unable to grow. Before the light of evolution dissipated, Eminem visually estimated that it was now 3 meters tall, considered tall among the ivory pigs, especially among the ivory pigs that had just evolved. With further cultivation, there is hope that it can reach 3.5 meters. Pokémon that are smaller in size, even if they become boss Pokémon, are not as big as this one. After a while, the light of evolution on Mayo also dissipated. I saw the ivory pig that had just appeared. Not only did its huge tusks look bigger than the ordinary ivory pig, but it also had obviously thicker fat on its body, making it appear more rounded. At the same time, Eminem also noticed that its hair had become thicker and glossier than that of ordinary ivory pigs, and the previous alopecia areata was completely invisible. Then Eminem immediately checked Mayo's condition and found, Eminem was also surprised. Zio AI, who was connecting various examination equipment to Mayo, heard the sound and asked, "What's wrong?" It has awakened to level 1, thick fat, and started to show specificity. Chapter 734 Specificity. What kind of specificity? Zio AI asked with a little curiosity after hearing this. The so-called specificity means particularity and uniqueness. It is usually used in awakening characteristics and awakening skills. As for awakening attributes, there is rarely any specificity. The awakening ability that Eminem has seen most profoundly and experienced most is undoubtedly Xiaolang's magic, manifested as awakening skills. However, the awakening skills activated by Xiaolang's magic show little specificity, greater power, wider range, longer distance, cooler style. These types of awakening effects are not considered specific. The old cards, Light Wall, has the effect of absolute defense within the threshold. Instead of weakening the offensiveness, it is specificity. The food spell, based on prediction of the future, having the authority to create something out of nothing from the past is specificity usually. If you only awaken to LV1, there are not many skills and characteristics that show specificity. Unless it is an awakening method that combines multiple skills, there is generally no specificity. After awakening to level 2, most skills and characteristics have specificity. As for those level 3 awakenings that are hidden even by well-known professional trainers and are truly rare without any specific information, they usually have specificity of in the past. Apart from Fluttershy and Leocat, who were not trained by Eminem and had no dealings with him, the only Pokémon with the awakening trait of Eminem was Fluffy. However, Mayo's thick fat level 1 had no effect at all, and Eminem was not sure about the direction of its awakening. Eminem used animal senses to sense it carefully for a while, and then said with a strange expression, Mayo's thick fat level 1 has improved its ice and fire resistance, but the improvement is not big. But the bigger improvement is that this kind of fat with special power can breed stronger hair and greatly weaken physical attacks. It is almost like superimposing the effect of a fur coat. Eminem, as he spoke, his tone was very surprised, even pleasantly surprised. Speaking of fur coat, in various Pokémon school courses, it will be compared with furry. Which of the following is the effect of fur coat? Can be said to be a classic score question. If you choose the wrong furry effect, you will be criticized. The effect of fur coat is to halve physical attacks, and the effect of furry is to halve contact attacks. There is a lot of overlap between the two, but they are essentially different. It is true that most physical attacks are contact attacks and vice versa, but there are also examples of physical non-contact skills and special contact skills. At the same time, there are more Pokémon with the furry attribute and more limitations, because they have the weakness of being restrained by fire type moves. When it comes to fur coat, we have to say Darenia. It is not only the most typical Pokémon with the characteristic fur coat, but also a typical Pokémon with beautiful fur. It is specially designed for Darenia. There are also many hairdressing shops and hairdressing competitions held, and now, Mayo, who was previously alopecia areata, actually acquired characteristics similar to Darenia after the thick fat level 1 ability was fully released. This should be due to the way I was raised and the stimulation during the final evolution, which caused thick fat level 1 to mutate, right? Amu said confidently. But ZioAI shook his head at this time. I don't rule out that it was born like this. Maybe its father is a bulimia. It's true that Mayo has no memory of his father, but its mother is an ivory pig. Eminem knew this after communicating with Mayo. Ivory pigs, with an average height of 2.5 meters and a weight of more than 200 kilograms. Bulimia, with an average height of 1.2 meters and a weight of more than 20 kilograms. So, they are all land-based egg groups, right? ZioAI said matter-of-factly. Then ZioAI pretended to be surprised and said, no way. Are you thinking of something strange? The way the ivory pigs mate is to bury them in the snow with the male Pokémon of the same egg group, or freeze in the ice for a day and a night. It's different from humans. Slim Shady, although they are all highly knowledgeable, Eminem's knowledge in this area is indeed not as good as that of professional ZioAI. In fact, except for the humanoid group, the mating methods of most Pokémon are very different from humans and traditional animals. As for matings between the same egg group and different races, it usually depends on the race of the female. For example, the iron-armored rhino family, which also has a land group, egg group, competes to convince each other and then sharpen each other's horns. For example, Mauduan's horns are getting sharper and sharper. In other words, it is technically possible for a female iron-armored rhinoceros to mate with a male ivory pig, but it is almost impossible to mate with a male bulimia. It is not possible to have the same egg set. Things to solve. Eminem even suspected that if he chose biologist, he might be able to break this barrier and even crossbreed Pokémon from different egg groups. Listening to ZioAI's ridicule, although Eminem didn't react due to inertia just now, he still has to be harsh now. Ahem. Of course I know. I mean, there is no wild bulimia on the north shore of the Lake of Anger. Eminem explained forcefully. ZioAI did not continue to refute anything, like it doesn't have to be wild, but just smiled slightly and said, don't worry, we are still checking. Slim Shady. Eminem had no choice but to skip this topic and get down to business. After some inspections, pharmacy expert Eminem and evolutionary Dr. ZioAI both confirmed that Mayo and Gungan were in good condition and there were no problems. If we have to talk about side effects, it is that the individual correction rate of Gungan has dropped, but Eminem is confident that it can be restored. In addition, the specific direction of Mayo's thick fat level 1 also surprised Eminem. If it doesn't show any specificity, it's just an enhanced version of the thick fat effect. Although it can't be said to be weak, it is a bit useless on the field when there is a certain amount of defense. The difference between double resistance and double resistance is not very big, because to the opponent, they both mean not using moves with this attribute to attack, unless the opponent has no choice but to bite the bullet. There will be a difference. Therefore, although there is no distinction between Pokémon's attributes, from a competitive perspective, professional trainers prefer a combination of attributes with complementary weaknesses and more resistance, rather than mutual advantages and disadvantages. The original combination of superposition. Same reason. Having thick fat will make opponents not want to use fire and ice skills, and having an enhanced version of thick fat will still make opponents not want to use fire and ice skills on the field. The advantage of the latter is limited. After all, competitive trainers generally consider opponents with equal strength. If it is actual combat or wild fighting, the situation will naturally be different. For example, Euclid is used to target fire and ice enemies. For example, if the fire and ice enemies are stronger than Mayo, the ordinary thick fat may not be enough, and the enhanced version can be used to make gestures. But now Mayo is equivalent to the effect of thick fat plus fur coat. Direct physical attacks are halved. Not only is it more adaptable, but also, as long as Eminem doesn't reveal it specifically, the opponent will not know this. Others want to analyze it, but it happened after Eminem used his fur to gallop on the field for a long time. Dang. It's the last 2 days. Please vote for me. Please vote for me. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 735 Auxiliary Materials. Before the Chinese New Year, Eminem successfully bred 2 ancient Pokémon, Majestic Tusk and Ivory Pig. Point of course, Ivory Pig is also considered an ancient Pokémon. For a long time, the long-haired pig could no longer evolve upward, and could not even stimulate the effect of the evolutionary stone. People also believed that the ivory pig was extinct at this evolutionary stage, and the long-haired pig had lost its ability to move upward. The ability to evolve, just like the circle bear from a few months ago. However, decades ago, the Sinnoh Alliance discovered an ivory pig frozen in ice during an exploration of Xianguan Mountain. After being frozen and rescued, the ivory pig miraculously woke up. At this point, the chain of long-haired pigs evolving into ivory pigs was once again stimulated, which was a great discovery at the time. This is why after the circle bear started to respond to the evolutionary stone a while ago, the whole world began to look for the moon bear, because there is a precedent, of course. Even so, under wild conditions, there are still only a few long-haired pigs that have evolved into ivory pigs. If humans are not taken into account, the ivory pig evolutionary stage will become extinct in about 100 years with human cultivation. This process will probably be greatly slowed down. After all, the ivory pig is very strong, and the trainers who train the little mountain pig will work hard to make it evolve to its final form. The moon bear bred by Eminem probably had the same influence. In addition, Amu also has an unevolved Zuan-La Kijiu, which is still in the ancient form. The ancient Zuan-La will inevitably evolve into the big Zuan-La. Although in terms of skill genes, it cannot be regarded as more ancient form. Matara is indeed an ancient Pokémon. Therefore, after all calculations, it can be said that Amu now has 4 ancient Pokémon, among which Majestic Fang is not sure whether it is really an ancient Pokémon. By the time of the Johto rookie competition, many people will probably think that you are not a grass type trainer or a ground type trainer, but an ancient Pokémon trainer. Zao AI looked at Amu, who was training Jingu Zuanla in the forest, and sighed. The most popular way to classify trainers is by attributes, followed by egg groups, and then by certain characteristics. Essentially, they are training for a type of skills. With outstanding abilities, the skills that Pokémon can learn are not only related to attributes, but also have a lot to do with body structure. Trainer Gubugu doesn't know, but this rookie competition must be the winner. I don't want to debut without a championship, Eminem said while still polishing KJIU's nails. Does it still need you to polish your nails? Zio AI looked at KJIU in confusion. Zuan-La's fighting instinct should be very good, and the maintenance of his weapons is also part of his fighting instinct. No, I want to collect some of this, Eminem said. Collecting the nail powder? Huh. You can't just use your own nails, right? Zio AI became even more confused when he saw this. Whether it is a modern hero or an ancient hero, if you want to evolve, you need sharp claws, that is, made from the armor of a claw Pokémon or a hard armor Pokémon. A kind of prop point. After being carried by a Pokémon, it can also increase some corresponding power. It can be said to be a general term for a type of props, but the premise is that the material used for the item comes from a Pokémon that is stronger than the item carrier. Otherwise, what kind of bonus can be given to a king level Pokémon with sharp claw carrying elite level materials? Similarly, if you want to stimulate evolution, the sharp claw must come from the more powerful Pokémon material, the better the effect will be. As for the sharp claws made from your own nails, it's weird that it's useful. Of course I don't want to make sharp claws normally. I don't know how to make sharp claws. However, using sharp claws is a stimulating condition for evolution. If the principle is the same, you can also use other methods to stimulate it. Amu explained at this time. Indeed, the stimulating conditions of sharp claws are very replaceable, such as, although the wild Hangler has not evolved much, there are also examples of evolved Mahuala. Most of them inherited the powerful power of the claws from the dead Mahuala, and a few of them happened by chance encounter other Pokémon that meet the requirements and happen to get armor or claw pieces from them. Legend has it that in the Alala region, If you defeat the staff-tailed ankylosaurus and sharpen your claws on their armor, you can stimulate evolution. Anyway, essentially what is needed is the power in the claws and armor. If we simply talk about sharp claws, the best source of materials is actually the armor of the stern-tail scale ankylosaurus. The stronger, the better. Stand-tailed scale dragon has always been a big source of materials for this type of props, so you want to. ZyOAI suddenly realized what Eminem was going to use and frowned a little. It's a bit wasteful, right, Grandma? Leixi has already contacted a blacksmith for me. Anyway, I won't use that much. I'll just use the leftover materials. Eminem said matter-of-factly. Point, that's right. Eminem is talking about Rayquaza's fins. Normally speaking, at the same level, the most effective materials for Huala are definitely the big Huala and Mahuala from the original source, followed by the Tiger Balm's stand-tail scale armored dragon. However, if you consider things like Rayquaza's fins, then there is no prerequisite for same grade at all. How can there be a giant dragon or an ankylosaurus with the same grade as Rayquaza? Although the scales given to me by Rayquaza must have been shed, even the sharp claws left behind by the great heaven-leaking level Daigura who concentrated all his strength when he passed away are definitely not as good as the former. The base levels are too different. Point, the ones that can be considered to be of the same level are Leoka scales. However, the old card belongs to the boss Pokémon, that is, the existence that breaks through the level limit. It is good for making staffs. It is used to make materials for Pokémon, and it can easily guide the user to develop in the direction of breaking through the level. On the contrary, it is restricted. As for Rayquaza's fins, Eminem is of course inclined to listen to Rayquaza's words and find a biting land shark to train. Point, anyway, the ground element of bite the land shark is also Eminem's main attribute, and in terms of the dragon element, there are also old cards. Although Eminem hasn't bitten a land shark yet, the props to be used can be made first. Point, Eminem doesn't know any powerful blacksmiths or equipment makers. The only one he does know is Zyroshin's predecessor, the Gold Hall Master. After the incident on the Saint Tinu, his position as the leader of the museum was also taken away. He was assigned to be a guardian unknown. It may not be easy to find him in recent years. Last time, Mr. Jumu introduced him as the owner of the gym. This time, Eminem asked Grandma Leixi to introduce someone, one with Rayquaza's fins. Eminem's waist is also very straight, so he doesn't have to worry about no one willing to take the job. Sun Point, as expected, Grandma Ike also knew people in this field, and after hearing that it was Rayquaza's fins, she said that she would be able to help Eminem find a forging master in the near future. Eminem estimated that there would be some leftover materials left over to make props. I'm afraid it wouldn't be enough to make the main material, but when the time comes, he would use it in the form of potions to catalyze the evolution of Kijiu into the big Hala. Should be more than enough. The reason why Kijiu's own claw fragments are collected is to evaluate their condition and use them as auxiliary materials for potions to increase adaptability. Chapter 736, Forging Master. ZyOAI, come on, look. Eminem is on TV again. King Mui shouted at this time. Oh. ZyOAI responded indifferently. Point, at the beginning, ZyOAI pretended, but recently, because of Dr. Jumu's side, the press conference has begun to be promoted, and Eminem is mentioned more and more on TV. ZyOAI really couldn't bear it. This woman always called her over and read some reports that she didn't know the so-called, not even interviews. After all, Eminem didn't accept interviews at all. It was just the publicity columns that introduced Eminem's basic information. The images are still from the expert trainer assessment and the Kanto rookie competition. Point, after hundreds of years, the reappearance of Yu Bear is a big event in both academic circles and the circle of trainers. After all, Yu Bear's strength is not low. As for the research report, it was produced by Dr. Jumu's research. However, in the promotion, Dr. Jumu specifically mentioned that it was his student Amu who actually cultivated the Yu Bear. Point, this is the second time that Eminem's name has been mentioned around the world. The last time was during the Santo Anu incident. Point, as for the top 4 in the Kanto Newcomer competition, their influence is far from reaching the world, while the influence of the youngest expert pharmacist is mostly within. The pharmacist industry. ZioAI could also guess at this time that Grandma Leixi had an unusual identity, and the senior officials of the Quartz Alliance had a tacit understanding of her otherwise. ZioAI doesn't think that, if Eminem didn't take the initiative to tell the media that no media would come to interview him in Zio Town, he could only say that he was blocked by some mysterious force. Stop yelling and go to the kitchen to prepare. Grandma Leixi said sternly at this time point. Seeing this, King Mui stuck out her tongue and went to the kitchen. Grandma Leixi directly tuned the channel and watched the family fun program on Quartz channel. After all, today is the last day of the Alliance's 200th year, which is also the day when people in this world celebrate the new year. What an indifferent interview. Seeing this, ZioAI also sat back on the sofa and watched the program, seemingly satisfied with the channel change point. King Mui complained at this time. Grandma, who did Eminem go to pick up? King Mui was also puzzled. She had encountered mysterious visitors several times since she was a child, but why did she come to visit her during the Chinese New Year? There's no reason to go all the way to a friend's house to say New Year's greetings today, right? Don't have a home. Pick up the person he wants to see. Rexy said something unclear. Could it be that? Do I know you? King Mui asked nervously and curiously as she poked her head out of the kitchen. Sister. King Mui, I think she is a blacksmith. ZioAI heard King Mui's tone and reminded her kindly. Well, if the one who was embarrassed was someone else, such as a certain girl, I'm afraid she wouldn't be so kind. Oh. King Mui blushed and then continued to cook. What did Grandma Rexy say about the person Eminem wants to meet? King Mui thought it was a blind date. If it was a blind date, I would understand why I came today. Wouldn't this seem grand? It was indeed the person Eminem wanted to meet, the forging master invited by Grandma Rexy. In modern terms, it should be an equipment manufacturer. After all, the forging of forging means fire, and many modern crafts do not use fire. Since Grandma Leixi used the term forging master, Eminem has already guessed that she should be an ancient blacksmith. If you are buying general assembly line equipment products, Eminem, who always pays attention to cost effectiveness, will never consider the flashy so-called ancient methods. After all, there is a reason why modern techniques have become mainstream. The ancient methods are compared with assembly line products. Either the quality is bad or the price is too high. But since Grandma Leixi said she was a master, Eminem also absolutely believed her, especially when it comes to the processing of top quality materials like Rayquaza's fins regardless of modern craftsmanship or ancient methods. If Grandma Leixi can be called a master, she must have the world's top attainments in this aspect, even if it is modern craftsmanship. A master of this level is not a problem of the assembly line. At this time, Eminem also followed Grandma Leix's words and saw an old man waiting at the door of a hunter's cabin outside Zio Town. For Eminem, the most impressive thing at first glance is his silver hair and clean shaven beard, and his white skin, silver eyes, and his robes, which looked a bit old in style and texture, all seemed to indicate that he was not from the Chyanguan continent. Excuse me, is this Mr. Garrick? Eminem stepped forward and asked. Even though it was a ask, Eminem was also very sure. After all, he was the only one around, and he looked far away at first glance. But Eminem was also very puzzled. Why was the place where he picked him up so strange? It was neither a station nor an airport, but outside a remote hunter's cabin. At the same time, this old man didn't look like he was from Chyanguan continent, but I didn't see him carrying any luggage. Hearing Eminem mention the name Garrick, the old man frowned slightly, but still said, "Oh, that's right. Of course you can call me that, since Smizly he told you so, Slim Shady." Listening to the old man's accent and the inexplicable inversion, Eminem became more and more certain that he should be from Gala or Callus, and from his slightly disgusted tone, Eminem had further speculations. While guiding him, Amu asked curiously, "Are you from Gala?" It can be said that, although I was not born there, I came to Gala with my parents in my early years. I can be considered a Galarian, right? This Mr. Garrick indeed has a Galar accent. Hearing what the other party said, Eminem became more sure of his guess, so he probed further. Do you know a place called Hogwarts? When Garrick heard this. He couldn't help but pause, grinned slightly, but still said, "It seems that Ms. Reich really thinks highly of you, young man." Really? Garrick is also from the wizarding world. Amu estimated that Garrick should be his name. Of course Grandma Reich called him Garrick according to her own habits. There was no difference between ordinary Galarians and Quartz people, and they were also accustomed to calling each other by their names. However, people in the wizarding world maintain the habit of using last names and non-intimate relationships, so they may feel awkward because Eminem, a young man, calls him by his first name when they meet for the first time. Grandma Rexy knows some people in the wizarding world. Eminem has known about this for a long time. After the Kanto Newcomer competition, when Eminem complained about his luck at home, Grandma Rexy also mentioned the Elixir of Fortune. Chapter 737 revealed. Eminem still remembers that when Grandma Rexy mentioned the Elixir of Fortune, she reminded herself, if you meet a pharmacist named Horace in the future, you can ask him for advice. Eminem reckons this is a Ray wizard who is outstanding in potions. Similarly, when Eminem was taking the expert pharmacist examination, he heard the name Snape from Madoc, the master pharmacist in the Johto area, and this Snape was also the youngest master pharmacist record holder. It can be seen that the wizarding world here is also closely connected with the secular world. At least the top figures in various fields are chatting and laughing together. When Garrick heard Eminem mention Hogwarts, he thought it was Reich who told him. Although he felt a little grudge against Reich for violating the Isolation Act so blatantly, he was only slightly unhappy and didn't say anything more. The Isolation Act is not a matter of the wizarding world itself, but a policy also supported and jointly implemented by the major alliances. No, this is not what Grandma Leixi told me. In fact, by the way, Xiaolang, do you have any impressions? Eminem mentioned a person at this time point, but Eminem wasn't sure. After all, Little Wolf was just a Hogwarts graduate. He didn't know if Garrick was closely related to Hogwarts. Little Wolf. I know that boy. Garrick said and shook his head. Garrick seems to really know Little Wolf and has a deep impression on him. You know Little Wolf? Did he tell you? Merlin, this is really shocking. Garrick's tone became serious at this time. It's okay for Leixi to tell the story about the wizard. It's not impossible for Leixi's protege to know about the wizard, but it's not okay for Xiaolang to tell the story about the wizard. Even if he was not a Galarian, Garrick would at least have to complain to his family and inform the Galarian Ministry of Magic that this person would not be welcome in the future. No, it's not Xiaolang who told me. By the way, you haven't heard of me? Amu asked with some embarrassment. Young man, I'm also very famous in the wizarding world of Gala. Garrick reminded Eminem, don't you know me too? Eminem skipped the topic awkwardly after hearing this. Actually, I'm the one bound to Celebi. Well, it's usually called Blesser, but Eminem felt it wasn't affectionate enough to describe his bond with Celebi, so he invented this word himself. Garrick was stunned for a moment. Oh, times darling, what an enviable thing it is. Garrick said with some showmanship. It's as if Eminem is asking for applause himself. So, I traveled back to 936 years ago and met Mr. Crowley Rideau. Of course, I also heard about some things about the wizarding world before, but I only learned about the wizarding world from Mr. Crowley Rideau. Eminem said calmly. Garrick stopped now. Sure enough, Crow Rideau's name is far more magical in the Gala wizarding world than Celebi. On the one hand, it's because he is one of the most black magicians in the history of magic. On the other hand, he also has Voldemort's blessing regardless of whether the two people's ideas are really the same. Voldemort also borrowed the name of Crowley Rideau when he promoted the banner of pure blood supremacy. No matter how strong Crow Rideau is, it has been too long, and everyone's impression of him is more borrowed from Voldemort. Just like Slytherin in the original work, Crow Rideau's reputation, because of Voldemort, is now bigger and more sensitive than the other three founders of Hogwarts. Young man, if you're joking, you have to be moderate. Garrick said nervously. It seemed that Eminem wished he could take back what he just said. No, of course this is not a joke. I traveled through time with Miss Zillan at that time. Ah, Miss Zillan, you must know that, right? and Mr. Kurorido also gave me a letter of recommendation, saying that he would be the future. If you want to go to the library at Hogwarts, you can recommend me to Principal Dumbledore as a teacher in the college. Eminem was also ready to reveal the information to Hogwarts' First Point Bamboo Orchid. Of course Garrick knows this. No matter how ignorant you are, you will never know about the league champion. Although Garrick felt that the other champions were not as powerful as the monster in Gala, but it was undeniable that any league champion would be conservatively estimated to be at the level of the Dark Lord or Dumbledore in terms of combat power. Eminem's wearing Zillion's tiger skin has greatly increased his credibility, and Eminem also has evidence, and this evidence is even a letter of recommendation. Of course, what Eminem didn't mention was that it was true that Zillion traveled through time with him, but they were not at the same time point considering Eminem's identity. Garrick had to believe that Reich's protege should not be so boastful, especially something that could be easily exposed. Mr. Crowley Rideau asked you to find Dean Dumbledore? Garrick struggled for the last time. Yes, it was Rideau who told me that his letter was only obtained after I came back from 936 years ago. It shows that he can foresee some futures. And according to what he told me about Sol, the thing about the weapon, I won't feel weird if I meet him in modern times one day. Eminem said with a slight smile at this time point. However, Garrick's expression was completely frozen. How is it possible? Young man, you have to make your own judgment. How is it possible? Eminem understood that he was thinking of Voldemort, who was also related to Horcruxes, and the legend that Voldemort was not dead yet, but Garrick quickly suppressed this idea point just like in the original work, except for a few people who firmly believe that Voldemort will come back. Everyone else is certain, or is forcing themselves to be certain, Voldemort must be dead. Eminem felt that he had almost gained the old man's trust. It was enough for him to report his affairs to Dumbledore after he returned without revealing anything more, so he changed the subject and said, by the way, Mr. Garrick, my Rayquaza fins, how are you going to process them? Can you tell me first? Garrick was a little distracted at first, then suddenly came back to reality and said, your Rayquaza fins. What's wrong? Amu was stunned when he heard this, and then he understood. Grandma Rexy really took it as her own business. When asking Garrick, she didn't even mention that the Rayquaza fin was her student. In case he is not dedicated enough point, of course, there is no special concealment. If Garrick asks more about Eminem and hears about the previous air crash, he can guess something. It's nothing. We can talk while walking, young man. Garrick quickly responded point unknowingly. Garrick, who was still very arrogant before, has a much better attitude towards Eminem. Chapter 738 Staff Master. Garrick was instinctively surprised when he heard that the Rayquaza fins that Reich had asked him to process actually belonged to the young man in front of him point. But then he thought of the shock Eminem had given him before. He suddenly felt that it was not surprising that such a young man would be lucky enough to obtain Rayquaza fins point. Of course, this is also because Rexy hasn't told him yet that this is not an ordinary Rayquaza fin, but the fin of the real god of the sky. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so calm. Since you are also a wizard, then, do you have a wand handy? Do you think it is a good idea for me to make Rayquaza's fins into a wand for you? Garrick suggested sincerely at this time point. After all, what he is best at is making wands. No, my wand is rather special and not in short supply. I would rather have it processed into a prop that can be used by the biting land shark. Eminem said quickly point for Eminem. The function of the magic wand is to send out the power of Leocat. After all, Rayquaza is not Leolai. Using his fins to make a wand is too limited point. Garrick frowned when he heard this and said, whose hand did your wand come from? Believe me, Merlin is the best. The wand is the most important companion of a wizard, even if it is a wizard trainer. Mr. Kurorido taught me how to make it. Eminem replied honestly, teach you? Upon hearing this, Garrick frowned a little uneasily point. If Kurorido gave it to Eminem, then he would definitely have no problem with it. But teach Eminem to make it himself. He wanted to say that making a wand is not that simple, but what Eminem said before made him feel that Kurorido would fake his body at any time, which made him a little afraid to say bad things behind his back. You can help me take a look. As Amu said this, he stretched his hand forward and then pulled out a staff out of thin air. Garrick was also a little surprised. What kind of magic is this? What's even more surprising is the moment Eminem's wand fully appeared, Garrick froze. This is. Garrick waved his hands left and right, seeming to confirm repeatedly. Point at this time, he completely stood still and refused to leave. What kind of dragon material is this from? Garrick's face was very solemn. It's a fast dragon, I guess, Amu said after hesitating. Point regarding Leoka's affairs, Eminem still has to reveal as little as possible. After all, his opponents include dark organizations and Hayabu. All of them are Leoyanbi. The more people know about Leoka's details and limitations, the closer Eminem is to danger. Although with a small dodge alone, Eminem is definitely not in a dangerous situation. But there is no need to be closer to danger. But then Eminem thought about it. Jin and the others also saw the outline of a supergiant velociraptor. Even if the Dark Organization has people in the Ministry of Magic, there is nothing that Eminem has to say now that cannot be revealed. I see. Garrick handed the wand back with a straight face. No comments have been made. From the perspective of those who are familiar with Garrick, this is very rare. Eminem even suspected that he had seen the secrets on these wands and noticed that this fast dragon was still alive and was using the wands to transmit power. That's why I kept silent. But no matter what, Garrick seemed to have no intention of persuading Arm to make the staff. By the way, I didn't know you were always at Hogwarts, Eminem asked curiously. Eminem really doesn't know who this is. No, I'm not a teacher of Hogwarts House, but most of the wands of Hogwarts students chose their owners from me, Garrick said humbly at this time point. But Eminem reacted at this moment. So this is the wand maker from the wand shop in Diagon Alley. No wonder he was very impressed by Little Wolf. That sword was definitely not made by him. Most of the students' wands were obtained from him. So naturally he would be very impressed by the other few students. Of course, Eminem has not yet understood the true status of this celebrity because he is not knowledgeable enough. Garrick Ollivander, one of the 3 greatest staff makers in the wizarding world. In terms of making props other than wands, they are also at the top level. It is also very difficult for humans to exert the full power of the fins of the sky god. But if Ollivander can't do it, then there are not many people in the world who can do it. I'm really ashamed. Could you please, Mr. Garrick, please come here during the Chinese New Year? Eminem said gratefully at this time point. Although Rexy used her face to get him, Eminem didn't want to just waste Rex's grandma's face. No, we wizards don't care much about the new year. It seems that you really haven't experienced the life in the wizarding world firsthand, Garrick said helplessly. Unfortunately, Eminem also calls him Mr. Garrick. It seems this person has really never heard of him. Well, in fact, it's not that Eminem has never heard of it, but he just can't remember such a difficult to pronounce surname. If his surname had been more distinctive, Eminem would have remembered it long ago. Then, you usually. Eminem followed Garrick's topic and became curious about the daily life of wizards. The only things we usually celebrate mainly are Christmas and Halloween, Garrick said at this time. Christmas means December 12th is the birthday of His Majesty Merlin, the god of magic, Garrick answered matter-of-factly. Slim Shady, it makes sense. Merlin is the leading figure in the history of the magic world, especially in the history of the Gala magic world. There are wizards older than Merlin, but he is undoubtedly the most famous and the most influential on future generations. I see. Then Halloween. Eminem has never heard of these 2 holidays in this world. November 11th is the birthday of Her Majesty Morgana, Garrick explained to Eminem without any impatience, even though this kind of question seemed a bit retarded to the wizard. Morgana, a witch at the same time as Merlin, Dark Lord, is a title that only came into existence after the Alliance era. There are only 2 people who have won this honor, and both of them have brought great trouble to the Gala wizarding world. But looking back, if we rank the predecessors as Dark Lords in the world, the legendary Morgana must be the first generation Dark Lord, followed by Hayabu. As for Kurorido, although there are rumors that he left Hogwarts because of some extreme ideas, in fact, he is not known for being evil and has no sensational deeds. At least that's the case for now. Chapter 739 Humility. After listening to Garrick's words, Eminem also understood why people come here during the Chinese New Year, because wizards don't celebrate the Chinese New Year. Does Mr. Eminem have any plans to go to Hogwarts recently? Garrick asked tentatively. At the same time, the title also changed from young man and young man to Mr. Eminem unconsciously. Not yet. I still have to participate in the rookie competition in the Johto region, Eminem said honestly. This left Garrick speechless. After talking for a long time, people still think that I'm a newcomer. The rookie competition seems to only start in March. Garrick had heard about it. Yes, sign up at the end of February. Amu nodded. The specific schedule has not been released yet, but it must be registered by the end of February. That is, all trainers who registered in March of this year can participate. Hogwarts starts in March, Garrick reminded Eminem, who already knew this time from Mayor. By the time the rookie competition is over, the new semester at Hogwarts will have already started for half a month, and it will be too late to interview the lecturer at this time. It's not necessarily a lecturer. I think my knowledge is still a little lacking. Master Snape is a truly master level pharmacist, Eminem said modestly. Haha. Garrick laughed dryly. He obviously doesn't think Eminem is being modest. You even told Snape that you were aiming for the position of potions professor, but Eminem obviously knew about Snape, and Garrick didn't find it strange. Unlike himself, Snape was certified as a master of pharmacy. Although he does not appear often in the secular world, his reputation is very loud, and Eminem will know that he is normal. It's just that Snape is a bit too young compared to Reich, so he doesn't have much contact with Reich. The full name of the potion master Horace who is familiar with Reich is Horace Slughorn. That is half of Voldemort's guide when he was a student. In the original work, he filled Snape's trap during the Defense Against the Dark Arts class. The old fat man who was the potions professor, he is about the same age as Dumbledore, which means he is much older than Grandma Reich. After all, Grandma Leixi was exposed to potions when she was young. As a traditional pharmacist, many skills are similar to those of wizards. It can even be said to be the same knowledge, but there are differences in the explanation of some principles. The difference point: when Snape was young, he obviously never came to the secular world of Shianguan continent to study, so Lassie knew Horace, but Snape didn't know Lassie. There aren't many courses at Hogwarts that don't have professors. By the way, there are new professors for the Defense Against the Dark Arts class every year, Garrick reminded. What will Principal Dumbledore do when you see him? Eminem expressed his gratitude. Indeed, in Eminem's impression, Hogwarts has no lecturers or professors per capita. The main courses are all taught by the deans of the 4 branches. One professor is responsible for one subject, which can be said to be a carrot and a pit. There are no empty pits easily. If there are, then it is the Defense Against the Dark Arts big pit. It is said that, because of Voldemort's curse, no one can teach in this position for 2 consecutive years, and during the 1 year of teaching, there are always disasters. If Voldemort stood upright in front of Eminem, there would be Zio Shen. Eminem with so many fetters around him, he really wouldn't necessarily be intimidated by him. If Eminem comes into contact with his curse, he will inevitably feel anxious, so if it's Defense Against the Dark Arts class, forget it. As for the teachers for other courses, but at least Eminem came to the door with a letter of recommendation from Kuro Rido. Why can't Eminem really be a school janitor or concierge? Do you really regard old leaders as cadres? Of course, if Eminem really wants to go to Hogwarts, he must have been promoted to poisons professor, and he needs to learn from the potions in the wizarding world to increase his attainments in potions. Not being able to go to class was secondary. What Eminem coveted was mainly the library and Snape. Soon, Eminem had already lured Garrick home. This old man is quite tough, and he didn't look tired all the way here. Grandma Leixi, I'm back, Eminem shouted as he opened the door. Seeing that Garrick was here to help, Grandma Leixi came out to greet him. Ah, Garrick, you really forgot that in Kanto, when you are a guest at someone else's house, you have to bring a gift. Grandma Reich said deliberately. Garrick suddenly said helplessly, yes, Rexy, it's the same in the wizarding world, but that doesn't mean when you ask others to come and help. But Despite saying this, Garrick still took out his wand and waved it. The gift flashes. The next moment, a beautifully packaged cake box appeared. Eminem estimates that this is some kind of magic related to psychic power and teleportation. This is also the most common ability among superpowers. It does not require magic. There are many people in Naz's gym who can do it. Why are you being so polite? Really? Reich said, taking the cake, and then invited Garrick into the room. Oh, Melon, King Mui has grown so big, Garrick said with admiration and emotion. After seeing King Mui. Judging from this, he should have seen King Mui when she was a child, but King Mui has no memory. Sit down first. It will take a while before the meal starts. Rexy said, my lord, Melon, you finally allowed me to eat. Garrick pretended to be touched and relieved. Of course, what's our relationship? It's not just about eating. I also agreed on behalf of Eminem when you wanted to process Rayquaza's fins. Grandma Rexy said matter-of-factly. It seemed like it gave Garrick a lot of face. Garrick, did it turn out that I was here to catch you? Eminem, go take it out and show it to Garrick. Reich said to Eminem at this time point. When Eminem went to pick up the fins, Garrick said half jokingly, I hope if I process it quickly, I can still stay for dinner. If it is not made into a magic wand, nor is it made into something powerful, but the most basic power of the material is retained and used for biting land shark, then although it requires high skills, for Garrick, it is not. It takes too long. At this moment, Garrick saw the two small fins that Eminem had brought over and was startled. As expected of a top staff maker, Garrick could already tell that this fin was extraordinary even before he took a closer look. It's this Rayquaza's fin? Garrick took it, looked at it carefully, and asked again in a solemn tone. Chapter 740. Garrick's speechlessness. Hearing Garrick ask this, Eminem also became a little unconfident. That's right. Could it be that the one it gave to me was from another Pokémon, or another Rayquaza? At this moment, Eminem suddenly remembered that the god of the sky had a very average attitude towards him. Could it be that he wasn't the fin of his true form? Garrick. What? It's apostrophe other Rayquaza? Garrick seemed to have guessed something, but he was not very confident yet. Who is the one who gave you this? It stands to reason that this is the god of the sky, the one on the pillar of the sky who gave it to me, but it seems to be close to my eyes, but it shouldn't be. Eminem sounded like he was suspecting that the other party had given him fake shark fins, fake dragon fins. Garrick didn't understand why the man in front of him would suspect such a thing. What's even more unclear is why the god of the sky would give him this, even though he has normal eyesight with Rayquaza's temper and average eyesight. No, based on this guy's performance, shouldn't he be given the dragon's life directly? Why would you still give something away? Is this useful? Looking at Garrick's expression, Eminem thought he was being tricked. No, these are the divine fins of the sky god. I'm just surprised. Garrick quickly corrected him. Eminem, who was about to wake up Leo Catacomplene, suddenly stopped. But it scared me to death. Eminem also breathed a sigh of relief, and then asked, then the processing should be no problem. We will definitely be able to process satisfactory biting land shark equipment. I think you want to tend to improve your potential, right? Garrick took a deep breath and restrained this uncommunicable feeling. Said, of course, it's all about potential. Eminem said matter-of-factly. Regarding Pokémon props, there is also a difference between potential tendency and power tendency. As the name suggests, the former is more for the growth potential of Pokémon. As for the effect on strength, it is just incidental, while the latter is the other way around. In general rookie competitions, and even many mid to low end competitions, the props that can be encountered are all standard, with only a few types, and the specifications are the same. The reason for the rookie competition is because there are regulations that only standard props and potions can be used. For other mid to low end competitions, it's because the participating trainers generally don't have any special props. However, in theory, there are no restrictions on props in regional alliance competitions and non-newcomer groups. The only restriction is that props and potions must be bound to the genetic level, and there are no other restrictions. In other words, The same sharp claw may encounter a higher improvement than the standard version, but you can't give weird force a submachine gun to come up and burst. As for the processing of Rayquaza fins, Eminem naturally chose to focus on training and growth rather than directly improving combat effectiveness. After all, Eminem doesn't even have the ability to bite a land shark now, and he's not in a hurry to improve his combat effectiveness. In the rookie competition, only standard props can be used. For non-rookie competitions, it doesn't make much sense to rely on props to win the competition point. As for the wild fight, the main force that determines Eminem's combat power is Zyadang, and the upper limit of Eminem's combat power is determined by the burst of Leoka point biting land sharks and so on, can only be supplemented by training to the level of the Great Heavenly King. Of course, potential is the most important thing. By the way, can you ask Mr. Garrick to collect some leftover materials when making props? Especially the powder. Just dissolve it in this, Eminem said, taking out 2 bottles of liquid medicine. This was made by Eminem himself, specifically to preserve the leftover materials from the Rayquaza fins. Of course, but, Merlin, please forgive my greed. Can you give me some remaining materials? It only takes about half. Well, after making a set of full armor that bites land sharks, it will take about 7.5. How is it? Garrick asked with some anxiety. According to his rules, he would take at least 20% of the materials provided for processing. Even if it was the fins of an ordinary Rayquaza, he would dare to do so. If the material was too poor, he would not accept it at all. After all, for a blacksmith of his rank, this is basically the rule. To give Leixi some face, the most he can do is to charge less. But when Eminem's true Sky Dragon fin came out, Garrick was immediately stunned. Firstly, it's because they have different values, and secondly, if it's the Sky Dragon's fins, you don't have to ask him to process them. You can just find other forging masters. Once they are rolled up, their own value will naturally increase. Just low. It's really like catching up on your own. Of course, Garrick believes that, since they are all masters, no one should roll in for free. Although the opportunity is rare, it would be too shameful. Okay, then I'll trouble Mr. Garrick. Eminem agreed directly. After all, Grandma Leixi didn't say anything, so it must be a normal offer. Although his tone was a bit false, Eminem had no intention of suppressing it. Eminem is a very cost-effective person. Currently, Eminem doesn't have any commemorative badge boxes, but he is not stingy, and he will not try his best to lower the price for others, especially Mr. Garrick, who was found by Grandma Reich. When Garrick was about to say something else, Reich interrupted. You have packed all the other auxiliary materials needed. Of course. Garrick hesitated for a moment, then nodded in agreement. After dinner, Garrick also ate with him, but Garrick resigned in the middle of the dinner. Apparently he also knew that in the secular world, New Year is a festival celebrated with family members. He just caught up and ate together. Just rice. Garrick was very dedicated. After dinner, he studied the fins and started planning. If it were just an ordinary Rayquaza fin, Garrick had come into contact with it twice before, once to make it into a wand, and once to process it into a Pokémon prop. Although the mythical beast materials are precious, master level prop production, there are only so many teachers in the world, so you can see a lot of top-notch materials. Just like Eminem is not a top-notch pharmacist, but an expert pharmacist, the owner of the gold shop uses materials of the Great Heavenly King level to process for him. Therefore, Garrick thought he understood the nature of this mythical beast material, but this was the first time he saw true Sky Dragon fins. Even if they were both Rayquaza, their properties were completely different. He still needed to understand and plan well before taking action. Garrick was also happy to see Zinzin, so he stayed up all night, thinking he was staying up late, and showed the plan to Eminem the next day. Even though Eminem was not in a hurry, he handed the finished product to Eminem 3 days later. Chapter 741. I don't have one. Mr. Eminem, don't you give it a try? Garrick, with dark circles under his eyes, handed a set of bite land shark full armor to Eminem, and looked at him expectantly. When Amu heard this, he scratched his head and said, "Huh, I haven't bitten the land shark yet." Garrick, no. I also said, don't be in a hurry. Seeing the stern expression on his face, Eminem thought he was complaining about rushing to work. He had obviously told him there was no need to rush. You didn't bite the land shark? Then why? Merlin, I think you will definitely do it later. And you also know Miss Yulin, right? Garrick was surprised and changed his mind midway point originally. Garrick had convinced himself that maybe the god of the sky was not interested in Eminem, but Eminem's biting land shark, so he gave away the god's fin as a gift point. But now Garrick understands. Co-author Eminem did not bite the land shark at all. In this way, Garrick couldn't figure out why a person who didn't even have the ability to bite a land shark was given the god's fin point. But it makes sense to think about it. If Eminem had bitten a land shark when he came up with the preliminary plan, he would have released it to see if any adaptive adjustments were needed. It would be a bit rude to ask the question directly like this, and Garrick basically gave up on continuing to explore the unsolved mysteries of Eminem. Instead, he just gave me a polite compliment, and by the way, he also flattered himself, in Garrick's words. Eminem has the bite the land shark full armor that he forged using God's fin as the material. Do you still have to worry about not having the bite the land shark, whether you directly abduct a wild biting land shark, or find a veteran trainer with biting land sharks to get one? I believe it is not difficult point, but after Eminem heard it, he was greatly inspired. Before, I only thought about conquering it myself, but I forgot that I could also ask friends for it. After Eminem was stunned for a moment, he sent Garrick away first. Garrick had no intention of staying any longer. He told Grandma Ike yesterday that he would leave today. After finishing biting the land shark in full armor originally, Eminem thought that it would be enough to send him to the hunter's cabin. But this time Grandma Leixi told him to send the person to the airport. I saw Eminem releasing one horse at this time and then handed Garrick the helmet. This is... Garrick's brows twitched. This is the motorcycle lizard from Padilla Island. It's called a horse. Don't worry, it's fast and stable. Amu proudly introduced it to Garrick. Biker, recognized around the world as the premier mount Pokémon. However, for an old staff maker like Garrick, who has some aristocratic baggage, the posture of riding a motor lizard is a bit ungentlemanly. It's no use, even if he doesn't want to. After all, Eminem can't drive, only motorcycle lizard can ride. Therefore, although Garrick was a little reluctant when he learned that he was going to ride the motor lizard, he finally compromised after Eminem's invitation. Otherwise Eminem can only recommend him to take the bus. By the way, where did Mr. Garrick come from? Amu asked curiously as he drove Garrick. Garrick, can you speak louder? Eminem said that he couldn't hear clearly. After all, Garrick was an adult and had to sit in the back seat. A horse was running forward at high speed, so he had to speak louder in the back seat. Garrick was also helpless. He really didn't want to talk to people at such lengths, but he didn't want to be rude and didn't answer, so he had no choice but to speak a little louder and unaccustomedly. Do you know, Flufan? In the wizarding world, it's used. It's very convenient when you're on your way. Then why don't you use it when you go back? Amu wondered. On the one hand, Eminem is puzzled. Flufan himself knows that the fireplace teleports, but the principle of this thing, Eminem doesn't think it is a Pokémon. After all, if it is a person with superpowers, it must be very strong. Only a small group can achieve physical teleportation. It would be too ridiculous to say that all wizards can teleport over long distances. On the other hand, I'm also wondering why Garrick didn't use it when he returned. Gala has special power, huh? Eminem didn't hear what was said clearly. Garrick, although Garrick felt uncomfortable, he still pulled his neck and shouted. Eminem later understood what Garrick meant. There is a special energy in the Gala region. Wizards can use it to do things that cannot be done in other regions. This is why the Ministry of Magic in the Gala region is the most powerful. Have a presence. As for the fireplace in the hunter's cabin in Sangzao town, it should have been authorized by Leixi's grandmother so that he could directly use flu powder to come there. But he wanted to go back later, but was restricted by the fact that Xianguan continent did not have that special energy. The special energy, is it the power of dynamism? Amu asked curiously at this time. Speaking of Gala's special energy, of course we have to talk about Dynamax energy. at some special Dynamax energy nodes. Even wild Pokémon can trigger Dynamax. There is such a saying. Garrick simply agreed. Obviously wizards don't fully understand this power, but some wizards do think that it is related to, or has the same origin as, the power that makes Pokémon go to giant size. After sending Mr. Garrick to the airport, Eminem did not rush back. Instead, he leaned on Lima and sent a message to Zylan. Eminem's previous goal was to participate in the rookie competition. Of course, he couldn't ask friends for Pokémon, otherwise he would only be able to play one Pokémon that had not been conquered by himself in the local area in a competition. If there were not enough local areas, Pokémon that can be conquered by itself are very tactically restricted. Unless you use Grandpa's trump card like some shameless people do, it's not that convenient, and you can't command Pokémon that are too strong if others give them to you. But what Garrick said just now made Eminem change his mind. There are only 2 months left in the rookie competition. After almost 2.5 months, the rookie competition will be over, and the scope of training Pokémon can naturally change. Even if you want to participate in other non-newcomer competitions in the future, the limit will be extended to 3, so asking friends is also an option. After all, Pokémon can reproduce. Many veteran trainers have offspring of their race Pokémon. Not only can they keep up with nutrition since childhood, but their qualifications are also guaranteed. The only flaw is that people may not be willing to give it to you. So Eminem talked to Sister Zylan about Rayquaza at this time. Sister Zylan must have more than 1 or 2 biting land sharks, and she couldn't train them at all. And if you want to find a good home for biting land shark, Eminem feels that he is a good choice. Sister Zylan, have a great new year. Didn't I encounter a plane crash a while ago? I happened to meet Rayquaza at that time. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 742. Mr. Dorkid. You don't wish me happy new year when you have nothing to do, right? Angry. JPG. Zylan sent a reply. Well, it's January 3rd, so obviously it's not a normal time to say New Year's greetings. I'm an orphan and I'm not used to New Year greetings. Wrongful. JPG. Zylan has probably discovered that Eminem is always developing new uses of the orphan status. Okay, what did you just say about Rayquaza? Zylan had no choice but to start the serious topic. It's Rayquaza, the one on the pillar of the sky, the real dragon in the sky? Surprised. JPG. Eminem also discovered that Zylan seemed to like using expressions, so yes, it is. Not. JPG. And after that, have I had any communication with you? Zylan asked quickly. My eyes are average, not my type, but he gave me a pair of dragon wings. Eminem answered honestly. Zylan was also puzzled. What was this talking about? Why did I give you something as a gift, even though my eyes were average? According to that person's temper, he might not care about the plane crash if he sees it, right? But when you encounter Eminem's attitude, shouldn't you just give your finishing touch? I have found a blacksmith master to make it into full armor. But I haven't bitten a land shark yet. Hint. JPG. Eminem hinted crazily. No, made it explicit. Zylan. When she saw looking for a blacksmith master, Zylan felt nervous instinctively, but she relaxed immediately. If it were someone else, Zylan would have to worry about whether the forging master was reliable. After all, the entire Chyanguan continent. No, it should be said that there is not much material of this level in all mankind, and even in history many. But considering that Eminem is an expert pharmacist, it must be easy to find a blacksmith, so there should be no need to worry. Zhu Lan also smiled knowingly when she saw Eminem saying that she had not bitten a land shark. Of course, Zylan became more and more puzzled. What is a relationship between encountering a plane crash and receiving the wings of the sky dragon? It makes no sense. Just because you see a plane crash, why don't you give things to people? But since Eminem didn't say anything, Zylan didn't take the initiative to ask either. But you didn't bite the land shark fiercely? What a pity. Zealand regrets. JPG. Zealand sent it like this on purpose. Seeing that Eminem kept saying sending intermittently, he probably ran out of words. So Zealand replied, by the way, the Johto Newcomer competition is about to begin. I will give the champion a fierce bite land shark then. Atmosphere. JPG. Just after sending it, I saw that Eminem had also sent a piece of You and Me Fate. JPG. At the same time, Eminem originally wanted to express I feel that Sister Zealand's fierce bite of the land shark must be destined for me. The meaning was similar, but I didn't have the nerve to say it out loud, so I used a picture instead. After seeing what Sister Zealand sent at the same time, Eminem breathed a sigh of relief. Of course Eminem also understood that the championship prize and so on were just words. After all, Zealand is the champion of SYNOPSIS, so what's the point of preparing prizes for the rookie competition in Johto for no reason? Most of them are Eminem's. Limited edition championship gift, just to remind Eminem that it can only be given to him after the rookie competition, and to encourage Eminem to win the championship. Seeing that the arms were successful, Eminem immediately sent a thank you, boss. JPG. Then got on a horse and started to return to Sangzao town. A passerby riding an electric donkey nearby saw this guy riding a motorcycle lizard and was as happy as a flower. He couldn't help complaining sourly, hey, I didn't know that. I thought I picked up a quasi-mythical beast. As for Zealand, she was originally in Grandma's research institute. Grandmother Zealand saw her granddaughter smiling happily and asked expectantly, what are you talking about? Could it be a boy? How does Grandma know? Zealand was stunned when she heard this. Well, this is obviously a bit of a misunderstanding. Based on Zealand's age, the term child generally refers to people of Jadalan's age. When Zealand heard boy, she instinctively thought that Amu was 6 or 7 years younger than her, so he was not a boy. Then she felt that Grandma had guessed correctly and did not hear other meanings. After all, she has never thought about Eminem in that direction. Hearing this, Zealand's eyes suddenly lit up. Her granddaughter is good at everything, but she is a bit too careless in some aspects. What kind of person? Do you want to invite me to your home? Zealand asked, pretending not to care. No need. I'm not letting him choose. I think, I happen to like it. Cluck. Zealand muttered to herself at this time. In fact, even if Eminem doesn't say anything this time, he might get bitten by a land shark after a while. At least it's an invitation to a picnic with a land shark biting in the monster cup. When the exploding head appeared at the end and attached itself to Shark's head, after saving himself, Leoben took a bite and destroyed the exploding head on Shark's head. After that, Shasha fell in love with Leoben, even if she didn't bring it up. How could Zealand not notice it? Now that Eminem is here to beg for alms, Zealand naturally follows suit. Shaksha is far from a frontline person here in Zealand, and when she heard that Eminem had good things, the first thing Zealand thought of was her own. The daughter of my partner Leixi. When she heard Grandma's question, Zealand was thinking about the shark class CP and even laughed like an aunt. She was distracted and assumed that Grandma had guessed something. She thought she was asking her mother to come to the research institute to choose bite the land shark. Almost done. Still want to choose yourself, but Mustard Seed Orchid. Hearing her granddaughter talking to herself, Mustard Seed Orchid immediately confirmed it, unexpectedly, quietly. Have you stopped carrying others? That. Zealand felt a little uneasy for a moment. After all, although her granddaughter is smart, calm, and powerful, she inevitably lacks experience in this area, so she won't be deceived, right? But I have to wait until after the rookie competition before giving it to him, so as not to be gossiped about. Zealand didn't want others to think that she was favoring the rookie competition contestants. New human competition? Zealand was silent for a while after hearing this. She didn't expect her granddaughter to like young people, but for the rookie competition, it's fine if you're 18 or 19 years old, but if you're 16 or 17, Zealand will be a little worried. Anne. Listening to this, do you still want to give me something? Still afraid of gossiping? Then don't look for something so small. Mustard Seed Orchid doesn't know where to start complaining. Just then, The doorbell rang. Zilan also straightened up and went to open the door at this time. Zilan looked at the illustrated book on the table that had not yet been extinguished. In a state of extreme confusion, she glanced at it for a moment. Well, I just looked at it and didn't move, so how could it be considered a peak? Then the fate between you and me. JPG. Sender biting land shark. Thank you, boss. Mustard seed orchid. Grandma, what's wrong with you? Do you have angina again? ZHU. Lan and the visiting guests quickly found medicine for Mustard Lan, who was clutching her chest. Chapter 743 Departure. After sending Mr. Garrick away, Eminem continued to prepare for the press conference while enjoying the New Year's rest. Grandma Leixi also focused on teaching pharmacy knowledge involving ancient Pokémon every day by assessing Eminem's stall. The first is to prevent him from showing timidity at the press conference. Although it is Dr. Jumu who mainly gives the scientific research results, Eminem is also one of the protagonists after all. It will be very ugly if he doesn't know everything when asked. Secondly, Grandma Ike didn't want Eminem to focus too much on being like an ancient Pokémon expert at the press conference, and people ignored the most important identity of pharmacist, mainly the latter. After all, Eminem's knowledge is here, and he can still behave very well. No matter what point. Eminem also accurately understood what Grandma Leixi meant, and specifically asked for advice on how to analyze his cultivation of the little bad bear from the perspective of pharmacy. In short, Eminem has only two answers to the question, why was the moon bear born? One is bonding, and the other is pharmacy. By the way, with the guidance of Grandma Leixi, Eminem also refined the evolution stimulating potion for Kijiu more properly. However, although in theory there is no growth limit for the evolution of ancient Zuanla, considering that Kijiu was less than 3 months old, Amu was not prepared to catalyze its evolution immediately. Instead, he first wore the sharp claw made by Mr. Garrick with some scraps to adapt to the power of this dragon type. He had to grow up a few more levels and then catalyze the evolution. Grandma Leixi, please go to the Golden City with me and Sister Kingmei. There will be my press conference then. Eminem extended an invitation to Granny Leixi. After all, Sister Kingmei will go only if Grandma Leixi goes. Otherwise it would be useless for Sister Kingmei to want to go. HMPH. Let's wait until you hold the pharmacist's press conference. Grandma Leixi said matter-of-factly. It seems that Eminem's participation in this press conference as Moon Bear's trainer is a bit distasteful. This is why Eminem has also shown talent in Pokémon training. Otherwise, Grandma Ike would not only be disgusted, but also disgusted. Even now, Grandma Ike shows disdain for Eminem's status as a trainer. Eminem had already guessed that Grandma Leixi would react like this. Then he took out the illustrated book, handed it over and said, Grandma Leixi, look, I also have a press conference on pharmacy. I saw it said January 13th, expert pharmacist with great momentum, ancient formula. The power of the bear? Mom classroom invites you to witness the miracle, and as a background, in addition to Eminem, who is painted in an exaggerated style, somewhat like the attire he wore when he went to court, there are also some blurred desperate bald heads and hysterical fat men, and Eminem was in the middle and upper position between them, as if he was a god spreading sweet rain to the world. Grandma Leixi. Well, it's clear at a glance that this is the launch of weight loss pills and hair growth supplements. Grandma Ike snapped. Hey, Eminem, was hit on the head, while Rexy rolled his eyes and said, I'm not talking about this kind of money scamming press conference. No, 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 Grandma Rexy, this is a very important effect. Amu also wanted to explain what this means to human beings. However, Grandma Leixi asked directly, oh, can it really change the body into a body that is not easy to gain weight or revive the hair follicles? It's true that it doesn't work, but if you continue to take it, it can prevent the synthesis of fat and catalyze the synthesis of hair through the power of the medicine. Eminem said confidently. Grandma Leixi curled her lips when she heard this and said, that is to say, it didn't solve anything, it just replaced some functions with medicine, right? You have to say this, and Eminem can't refute it. I have already said that potion is not that simple. It can only be regarded as a liquid rich in some kind of energy. Grandma Leixi said, somewhat attacking Eminem point, but Leixi turned around and said, of course, it's okay to use it to make money. But if humans want to use it, the approval will be complicated, right? After all, it requires mass production. Yeah, but Leixi is doing those things, and the Suzuki Group will also provide assistance. Eminem nodded point in this world, the major leagues don't control that many things for Pokémon, like the refining of standard potions. If it is refined by a pharmacist himself, and has a pharmacist qualification as a guarantee, it can be put on the market. So before Eminem had thought about it, if the money didn't come together, just go find the medicine recycling at Giladu Pharmacy, and if it's just customized medicine or new medicine, there is no approval point. For example, when the Gold Hall Master looked for Eminem, if Eminem missed, the Gold Hall Master's Pokémon would not be effective after eating it. That is also their own business. After all, the owner of the Gold Hall invited the person himself. However, once it involves mass production, it must be audited. Point after all, non-mass produced pharmaceuticals generally belong to cooperation between the two parties. And there are a few cases where there are private pharmaceutical shops. It's basically all at your own risk point. But if it is a drug that has universal applicability and can be mass produced, its usage will be very large, and the alliance will also supervise it. Point now the new medicine registered by Eminem, the Pokémon version, has been approved, not only because Pokémon are thicker than humans, so there is no need to worry too much when conducting experiments, but also because of the Suzuki Group. The approval is of course fast. Point, but the human version, Leixi is preparing to start the review process after the new year. The invitation to Grandma Leixi failed, and Eminem didn't try to persuade her anymore. After all, Grandma Leixi's face had disgust written all over it. Then, will there be a rookie competition in 2 months' time? Eminem asked helplessly. Wait until you reach the top 8. I hope you won't just let us stay for 2 days this time. Grandma Leixi said teasingly. Point in a blink of an eye. It was already January 8th, and Eminem was preparing to leave for Golden City. Sister, King Me, there's no need to give it away. Come and watch my competition in 2 months. I will definitely win the championship then, Eminem said confidently. Point. After spending half a month celebrating the new year at home, Eminem set out again, but instead of immediately restarting his journey to the Johto area, he went to Golden City first, Teacher Jumu's press conference, Eminem's own press conference, and then attending the school festival of Didon High School. This was also an appointment made with Sonoko before, and the invitations had already been sent. Point originally, Eminem was planning to visit Nazi first when he arrived in Golden City, but after sending the message, Nazi just replied coldly, not in Kanto. Eminem suspects that it's Liubo's matter, and it's not over yet. Chapter 744 Little Bad Bear. Alliance January 8th. 201 point. After getting on the plane in the morning, Eminem showed up at Dr. Sakurage's research institute in the afternoon. Now it's almost Dr. Jumu's temporary research institute. The subsequent press conference was also held at Dr. Sakurage's place. After all, two words cannot be written in one sentence. Giant trees, big trees, cherry trees are all distant relatives, and Sakura trees are juniors, so of course they cannot refuse. Point as for Dr. Jumu's research institute, Amu doesn't know where it is, but it is speculated that it is in a non-alliance area, the real world. That's why it's so mysterious. Amu is very familiar with Sakuragi Research Institute. After several researchers saw Amu, they all showed kind eyes. Well, after all, Ghoststone and Pippi have lived here for a long time, and everyone has seen their training. Teachers are all very kind. Renji, whose hair was still disheveled, saw Eminem and led him to Dr. Jumu. He also reminded, Drive Jumu should have guests, Teacher Jumu. When Eminem saw Teacher Jumu, his complexion was still very good. He wore big goggles, and he even had an unconventional aura and good spirits, probably because of Teacher Jumu's presence. The old lady with a mushroom head next to her looked not very good looking, and even made Teacher Jumu a little too complacent. Hearing Amu's greeting, Dr. Jumu turned around and introduced, Come on, Amu, let me introduce to you. This is Dr. Jizulan. You should know that he is an expert in ancient history research. Before The Alliance era, the history of the Pokémon world was very vague, and myths often needed to be researched. Moreover, some symbolic Pokémon or the ecology of ancient Pokémon often needed to be studied in conjunction with history. So ancient Pokémon history is also of great research value, especially ancient Pokémon like Uiuziang are integrated with history and are closely related to ancient history and ecology. So for the subsequent press conference, Jumu invited Giselan to come over and give an interpretation of ancient history. Hello, Dr. Giselan. Eminem greeted Dr. Giselan. At this time, Eminem hadn't realized yet Giselan was Zealand's grandmother. Giselan didn't know that Eminem was her granddaughter's chat partner. At this time, she said with emotion, "It's good to have juniors who can worry less." In her opinion, Eminem is just Dr. Jumu's protege, a very outstanding young man. In the past, she would not have been envious. After all, it was rare to see a young man who was better than her granddaughter. But now, Mustard Seed Orchid feels like a headache. For several days after that accidental chat, Giselan wanted to have a good talk with her granddaughter Zealand, but she could never find a suitable entry point. Even Mustard Seed Orchid has begun to reflect on itself. Could it be that I was too hasty before? But I didn't push it much. What the hell? Isn't she far different from your granddaughter? Ha ha ha. Dr. Jumu complimented naturally. Hey. Giselan's heart twitched again at this time. Jumu didn't understand what had happened to this old friend recently. When I mentioned Bamboo Orchid in the past, it was not like this. By the way, you can go see the little bad bear first. At this time, Jumu followed Eminem in calling the moon bear. Seeing that something was wrong with Giselan's state, Jumu pushed the student away. Eminem went to the ecological area in the backyard of the institute. On the way, Eminem suddenly said to himself, by the way, Dr. Giselan, when Teacher Jumu mentioned your granddaughter just now, Eminem vaguely remembered something, but before he had time to think about it, he realized it. That person just now was Sister Zealand's grandma, right? It's just that in Jumu's view, the Mustard Orchid itself is also famous, so there is no need to introduce it as the grandmother of the Bamboo Orchid. What's wrong? Leixi, who was leading the way, looked at Eminem in confusion. Nothing. Dr. Giselan is Miss Zealand's grandmother, right? Amu confirmed to Rinji. Well, yes, they are all excellent people. Rinji nodded. Seeing that Leixi was a little listless and seemed very tired, Eminem thanked him. Gishan and Pippi, thank you for taking care of me before. It must have caused a lot of trouble, right? Haha, it doesn't matter. Recently I really hope they will come back soon. Even in front of Eminem, Leixi smiled a little bit, but Eminem didn't quite understand what he said. Indeed, recently, in order to train Gungan and Mayo in the wild, especially to stimulate their evolution, Eminem replaced Ghost Stone and Pippi back on his body. But Rinji would actually miss them. It doesn't sound like it's just being polite. Just when Eminem was about to ask again, he had already arrived at the ecological area and saw the little bad bear was basking in the sun by the mud pool. Judging from his fat and strong appearance, he has become very beautiful recently. At this time, I heard the little bad bear lazily barking, and a researcher immediately came over and scratched its back with a brush. It looked very domineering. After evolving into the moon bear, it is a bit unrealistic for the little bad bear to rely on being cute to achieve his goals. In fact, after evolving into the loop bear, it is no longer realistic to use his appearance to make people relax their vigilance. Got it? Fortunately, it soon discovered that it no longer needed to obtain food or other benefits like this, but it could directly bully other Pokémon. However, it also paid a tragic price when it was in Dr. Jumu's research institute. Although with its height of more than 2.5 meters and its burly body, most Pokémon are no match for it based solely on visual inspection. But the combat ability of Pokémon cannot be determined purely by visual inspection. In Dr. Jumu's research institute, there are many powerful ancient Pokémon and ancient Pokémon. The little bad bear just went to play tricks for 2 days and was educated to understand the benefits of being cute again. About a month ago, after leaving Dr. Sakurage's monster room, little bad bear originally wanted to know tigers in the mountains and call himself the king again, but he returned to Dr. Sakurage's research institute. Although there are not so many monsters here, but there are two guys more hateful than myself. It wasn't until Eminem took Ghost Stone and Pippi away that the little bad bear got even more vengeful in the past half month and lay down. The little bad bear, whose IQ is close to Ghost Stone and Pippi, also understands the importance of the press conference. Recently, the researchers who have been busy taking care of it have only behaved in front of Dr. Jumu. Seeing its behavior, Eminem finally understood why Renji missed Ghost Stone and Pippi. Chapter 745 Flower Arrangement. Important. There was a bug in the last chapter, and the Brainiac moved Sakurage's research institute to Jinhuang City. Now it has been changed to the logic of asking people from Sakuragi Research Institute to come to Jinhuang City's temporary research institute to help. Other plots do not have this logic. There is no need to go back and look at the changes. In addition, the year is indeed written wrong. It has passed the year and it is 201. Time in this book has passed and will not be affected by Conan and Xiaoxin. It has been revised. If you are with a Pokémon that is weaker than you will bully and squeeze it. When you are with a powerful guy, you will be humble and submissive. When you are with a researcher who takes care of you, you are domineering. The little bad bear said that this is very skillful. Hey, little bear, it's very comfortable, Gissy. At this moment, the voices of two devils rang out. Gap woo. The little bad bear turned his head stiffly and found that these two guys who shouldn't be here were actually chasing them. At the same time, in order to prevent the little bad bear from asking for help, Eminem decided to see it later. He and Renji had already left, pretending not to come. The good days of the little bad bear have come to an end. After the press conference, Eminem will focus on training him because he has stayed with Dr. Jumu for a long time and cooperated with research. Little Bad Bear has not trained for a while, and his current growth rate lags behind that of Xianagi and Leoben. After all, given how naughty the little bad bear is, even if it's male, mother tells it will not be too active in self-training, isn't Dr. Sakuragi here yet? Amu asked curiously. No, the doctor has been in Jinhuang City for a long time, but today he went to visit Hanamichi. Renji said. Hanamichi is in Golden City? His injury hasn't been injured yet. Amu was a little worried after hearing this in the previous high school football basketball league. Although the performance of the Kyubi team was called the Uncrowned King due to the lottery issue, they encountered the same ending as Eminem in the rookie game. When playing against Didon High School, not only did everyone the team was overdrawn, and Sakuragi Hanamichi suffered a serious back injury. Note 1. As the foreign aid trainer of the Kyubi team, Eminem and Ryoko had paid attention to Hanamichi's injury before point, but at that time, Ryoko told herself that Hanamichi was already recovering, and although he could not return to the team for the time being, nothing happened. Normal activities are fine, but recovery is slower than expected. He is still recovering, Renji said with a worried tone. Listening to the words he was considering, Eminem could probably guess that his normal life would not be affected at all, but it might be difficult to return to the competition. I guess it's a neurological injury, then. In Golden City, Eminem's tone was also a little solemn at this time. Well, let's seek some special treatment, Renji said very cryptically. But Eminem can certainly hear the meaning of treating a dead horse as a living horse. Dr. Is a regional central city in the Kanto region. Golden City's medical resources are not weak, but if you have come all the way to Jinhuang City to see a doctor, there is a sense of self-deception because the most famous thing in Jinhuang City is not medical treatment, but superpowers. Basically, there are problems that cannot be solved by medicine. So I come here specifically to seek answers. But based on Eminem's understanding of superpowers, this answer is mostly self-comforting. If it was really useful, Eminem would have asked Nazi for help. And if even Nazi can't do something, then Eminem thinks it's something that superpowers can't do. But Eminem didn't say much. I believe Dr. Sakuragi understands this too. It's just that Hanamichi couldn't return to the game, which really surprised Eminem. Originally Eminem thought that he would be able to return to the team during the winter playoffs. I see. I hope we can play together again. Eminem could only say this blessing, of course. Even if he plays together, Eminem, as a foreign aid, does not actually play. Renji hesitated for a moment and then said, actually, I still hope that Mr. Eminem can give more advice to Mr. Hanamichi. After all, you are probably of the same age and are on the same team, eh? Okay. When Eminem heard this, it seemed that it was not Dr. Sakuragi who was comforting Hanamichi in this way, but Hanamichi himself who refused to give up. So there was nothing Dr. Sakuragi could do. After NG led Amu to the room assigned to him and put down his luggage, Amu first contacted Ryoko and asked about Ikebana Point Butte. Eminem discovered that Ryoko did not know the true situation of Hanamichi. She really thought that Hanamichi would return to the team in a few months, at least before this year's playoffs. That's what Hanamichi said. Did something happen? Ryoko seemed to have noticed something. Nothing. I just happened to meet Hanamichi on my recent trip. Since he has no health problems, I will go and meet him later. When Eminem saw this, he did not tell the truth to Ryoko, lest she worry in vain. After careful consideration, Eminem contacted Hanamichi. If modern medicine can't help, then Eminem's pharmacy can't help either. When it comes to treating humans, medicine is more professional. Are you also in Jinhuang City? Okay, it just so happens that we get together in the evening. I just happened to use this excuse to get rid of an annoying guy. Hanamichi quickly replied to the message. Eminem estimates that the annoying guy's Dr. Sakuragi. The place where Hanamichi and Amu made an appointment was at a snack street. Hanamichi had to treat him, and given his financial situation, he could only treat him here. For this reason, Eminem declined Heej's invitation, saying that he wanted to accompany a friend who was in a bad situation recently and would meet him and Kazuha after the press conference. After all, this guy Heiji is also very toxic, although Eminem would scratch his head if Hanamichi was not in good condition, but compared to eating with a quasi-death god, Eminem still felt that Hanamichi was more kind. When he saw Hanamichi, Eminem saw that his hair had grown back to the way it was when he first saw him, and he looked very unsightly. In addition, maybe he still doesn't accept the reality, but at least Hanamichi's mental state is very good. There is no hysteria or trance, which makes Eminem sigh a sigh of relief. Sure. Enough. You are here to persuade me to give up, right? You actually told Ryoko. Hanamichi was halfway through eating, looked at the illustrated book, and then glared at Eminem. I didn't tell Ryoko. I also specifically said that I just happened to meet you on the trip, so. Eminem didn't understand how Ryoko guessed this, and it seemed that she came to Hanamichi for confirmation. Do you have any press conference recently? Hanamichi suddenly asked. Yes, what's wrong? Eminem replied matter-of-factly, that is to say, you are basically telling Ryoko that I'm in Golden City. Hanamichi rolled his eyes. Slim Shady. Eminem also realized the problem. Well, Golden City definitely represents comfort treatment in this regard. Without Eminem saying anything, Hanamichi said it himself. You guys just love worrying. I'm not lying to myself. I really met a guy who was in a worse situation than me. Now he has recovered. Even the attending doctor couldn't explain it. Today, I finally asked him where he received the treatment. Where? Eminem felt that this matter was full of fraud. I saw Hanamichi looking mysterious at this time, and quietly said to Eminem, I heard that there is a magical place in Emi City, under the main peak of Shianguan in the Sinnoh region. Eminem always feels like this kid has been cheated. Note 1. The movie version of Slam Dunk, which is the story of the national competition, has been scheduled for April 20th in China. If you are interested, you can pay attention. Chapter 746 Anti-Fraud Fighter. No, Hanamichi, calm down. Well, I'm not saying that your sequel can't be cured. It's just, Eminem always feels that Sakuragi Hanamichi needs the next anti-fraud app. It's worse than mine. It's healed now. The doctor can't explain it. This sounds very unreliable. Don't worry. Of course I have my own judgment. Hanamichi said something that was not reassuring at all. Don't worry, you said magical place, not hospital, right? Eminem rolled his eyes. Hanamichi paused after hearing this and knew that it sounded unbelievable. But, firstly, he felt that he had not been cheated, and secondly, he had no other choice. Coming to Golden City to seek treatment for superpowers is the best evidence that he has begun to believe in these. I'm not that easily deceived. I just raise my hands and my reaction time when running is slower, but I'm still first rate in fighting. Hanamichi said even more unconvincingly. Eminem sighed and asked, so when are you going to go? Obviously, Eminem also understands that it is impossible for him to give up the last straw at this time. The only choice is to accompany him, maybe, March. Hanamichi said a later date than Eminem imagined. So late? Eminem was stunned when he heard this. Actually, someone in Jinhuang City said that I can be cured by using mind-nerve connection. Of course it would be best if I could be cured. There is still more than half a course of treatment left, so I'm going to take another look. Hanamichi felt a little uncomfortable. He said politely. Slim Shady, you also said that you are not easily deceived. This mind-nerve connection must be a lie. Again, even Eminem's superpowers are not that great, but Eminem recognizes one truth. What Nazi can't do, superpowers can't do. In March, don't you have to go to school? Eminem asked. Nonsense, please. Take leave. Hanamichi said lightly. Well, he doesn't study much anyway. If he asks for leave, there will be no loss to him, and no loss to the school. Then, let's wait until after the rookie competition, or in the middle of the year. I will go with you then. Eminem decided. No need, right? Why are you so embarrassed? Hanamichi was indeed a little embarrassed. Firstly, the relationship between him and Eminem is not very good, so it would be a bit embarrassing to have him accompany her all the way. Secondly, he actually has some worries in his heart. Could it be a lie? It would be even more embarrassing if someone follows you. It doesn't matter. I'm on a training trip anyway. After the Johto rookie competition, I haven't decided where to go yet. Eminem's tone was also very relaxed, and he blocked Hanamichi's rejection. Eminem really doesn't mind a trip to Emi City after all. Eminem himself hadn't decided to go to Hogwarts yet. Even if he wanted to go, he wouldn't have to spend a few days with Hanamichi, and he wouldn't be able to catch up with the start of school anyway. Okay, I know. I will call you then, but you must not tell other people, otherwise you will be in trouble. After hearing what Eminem said, Hanamichi had no choice but to nod and agree, but also warned Amu, don't leak secrets. At the same time, Eminem has made up his mind. If the other party is a pure liar, he will report it directly to Sister Zillion. If it is a swindling wizard or a person with superpowers, Eminem will let the other party know how powerful he is. After stabilizing Hanamichi and making sure that he would indeed notify her when the time came, Eminem returned to teacher Jumu's temporary research institute without disgrace. Dr. Sakuragi also knew that Eminem had gone to see Hanamichi before. It is estimated that Hanamichi just used this excuse to get rid of Dr. Sakuragi. Thank you so much for taking the trouble to comfort that child. At this time, Dr. Sakuragi only thought that Eminem was going to comfort you. Well, Hanamichi and I have made an appointment to go for a walk with him in March. Dr. Sakuragi doesn't have to worry about it then. Eminem still remembered Hanamichi's instructions and did not tell the specifics. March. Dr. Sakuragi seemed to have thought of something at this time. Of course Hanamichi didn't tell Dr. Sakuragi that specifically before, but he also mentioned that he would take a break from school in March. Dr. Sakuragi was very worried at first and guessed that he might have been deceived. After all, he even came to Golden City and he had obviously entered the scammer's potential customer base, but Hanamichi just notified Dr. Sakuragi. After all, he was not Hanamichi's guardian and could not prohibit Hanamichi from doing anything. Now that he heard that Eminem would follow, Dr. Sakuragi felt more relieved. Then I'll leave it to you. Nothing. I just want to go on a trip. Eminem looked at the time and saw that it was already late, so he went directly back to the house to rest and prepare to train the little bad bear again tomorrow. After returning to the house, Eminem told Zioai about the flower arrangement. This shouldn't be considered a leak. After all, if he goes to Emi City, Zioai will definitely follow him. By the way, Eminem also asked Zioai if she knew anyone who was good at treating neurological injuries. Emi City? A mysterious place. Zioai's focus made Eminem stunned. Isn't that the point? Eminem was still thinking, isn't this just being deceived? Unexpectedly, Zio AI showed some thoughts at this time, and after pondering for a while, he said, I seem to remember, the people from that organization once wanted to cooperate with someone in Emi City in the Sinnoh region. But in the end, I was rejected, and Jin who went to invite me was injured at the time. Who from Emi City? Eminem was a little surprised, and at the same time he also heard the meaning of this general name. That's right, he's not a trainer on the surface, but more like some weird guy. Zio AI said the same thing as expected. There any other clues? Amu asked quickly. I originally thought it was just a liar, but if Zio AI had heard of it over there, it would not be that simple. Of course, now Eminem is not sure whether Hanamichi and the Dark Organization are talking about the same group of people. Zio AI shook his head when he heard this, but suddenly remembered something and added, by the way, when Jin was treating him, he complained to Fradley. Obviously he borrowed that. A guy with such strength actually thinks very highly of himself, that kind of power. Eminem obviously didn't understand anything, but he might as well take a guess. How long ago did this happen? Eminem asked again. 3 or 4 years ago. Zio AI roughly waited. This was not beyond Eminem's expectations. Zio AI had not yet become an independent researcher at that time, and was only studying with Fralida, so she could hear about this kind of thing. Otherwise Jin would definitely be on guard against her. Zio AI most of the secrets I heard were also heard as an apprentice during that time. Chapter 747 Press Conference. Alliance January 12th. 2011, Golden City. Eminem prepared for 3 days, and the press conference was officially held today. As the organizer, Dr. Jumu sat in the middle seat at C. Eminem and Dr. Giselan, who was invited, sat on both sides of seat C. The first half of the session was entirely a symposium. Below was a large group of experts and scholars in this field. They first listened to the research reports of Dr. Jumu, Amu, and Dr. Giselan, and then raised their hands to ask questions about matters they were concerned about. The main ones are of course the research results of Dr. Jumu. Eminem's actual cultivation is an important supplement, and Dr. Giselan's historical interpretation is an expansion. Eminem had prepared for 3 days before, and Dr. Jumu also helped him systematically organize the reality cultivation process, so Eminem also had something to report. This is also thanks to Eminem's habit of writing a diary. He just picked out the part about the little bad bear in the training diary and used it as original information. When it comes to the Q/U0026A session, Eminem will also answer questions about the evolution of Loop Bear to Moon Bear. As promised to Grandma Ike, Eminem always answered questions from the perspective of pharmaceutical theory, and his character of expert pharmacist was solid. After the symposium in the morning, there will be a press conference for ordinary people in the afternoon. The people below were changed from experts and scholars to journalists from all walks of life. For Eminem, these guys are more tough than the people in the morning. Questions often have nothing to do with professionalism and focus more on practical significance and direct results, in order to avoid being misunderstood. Eminem followed Teacher Jumu's suggestions carefully. Reporters did not ask, and Eminem did not take the initiative to say anything. Even if he was asked about Eminem, Eminem tried his best to bring the topic back to Teacher Jumu. It's up to him to deal with it. Until then, hello, Mr. Eminem, I'm a reporter from Yuansu Daily. In the process of cultivating Yu Bear, did you accept too much help from other people? At this time, a reporter asked, after being clicked on. Raising his hand wrote, excessive acceptance. Eminem looked at him with a smile, and then said, of course I have received a lot of help, especially the bond between me and Yu Zion, which is the most direct help. In addition, I also want to thank my teacher in pharmacy, Leixi, Grandma, and Dr. Jumu, the teacher in Pokémon training. But when it comes to excessive, I don't quite understand what you mean. Can you describe what you mean in detail? That is to say, Mr. Eminem will also participate in the Johto region's rookie competition this year, right? If the participating Pokémon are not trained by themselves for a long time, will it? This so-so question has already made many people present frown. First of all, there is definitely no foul play, let alone, this is the press conference of Dr. Jumu's latest scientific research results. Are you asking this a little deliberately? Oh, so it's about the rookie competition. Then I think you don't have to worry. Although my moon bear has neglected training recently for the purpose of researching ancient Pokémon, I will naturally find a way to make up for it later, and it's only for individuals. It's just a slight impact on grades. I think it's not a big impact compared to the progress of Pokémon academics as a whole. As soon as Eminem finished speaking, someone immediately applauded in the audience, and most of the others also clapped when they heard the sound. Only Rincey saw that the one who led the applause was Jenga hiding in the shadows in the corner. This wave is really the Underworld Navy. Well, the reporter from Yuansu Daily originally wanted to say that Eminem's UIU bear has been in Dr. Jumu's research institute for a long time, so can it really be regarded as being trained by Eminem himself? But Eminem didn't seem to understand and acted like I'll just suffer a little loss. At this point, that's probably the truth. In other words, Mr. Amu believes that he is the main role in the evolution and cultivation of this UIU bear, and it does not require excessive external help, right? Reporter UNZHU asked persistently. Of course, this moon bear has also been said before that it was conquered in the Circle Bear Forest in the Johto area. And generally speaking, I think unless you directly use Grandpa's trump card as your own Pokémon, otherwise it's hard to say it's excessive external help, right? Eminem said something ordinary to enliven the atmosphere. The reporter from Yuansu Daily's expression froze when he heard this. Well, Mr. Amu wants to say that you are concerned about this kind of behavior. This behavior has nothing to do with today's press conference, and I think everyone has their own judgment. Eminem directly interrupted the other party's speech and then asked, Yuansu Daily also has questions related to today's press conference. I think many people still have questions, although there is indeed a record of conquering. But Mr. Amu is only traveling in his first year after all, and he encountered such an accident. I'm afraid. Yuansu Daily said the reporter obviously came with a mission and did not give up, even if he was ridiculed by Eminem. However, Eminem interrupted again at this time. First of all, the reporters present today, according to the rules, should have read the morning report. I don't know why Yuansu Daily's performance today is not professional enough. Otherwise, you should understand that first of all, this is not an accident, but an inevitable result of the bond with Pokémon, as well as various abilities and training methods. Just like the little elephant I conquered in Johto, it has now evolved into Majestic Fang. It's just because there is no rush to release scientific research results, so I have to wait until after the rookie competition, and then let teacher Jumi come and study. Hearing that Amu had cultivated the Pokémon in Johto into the ancient form of Paradox, many experts and scholars who had been sitting in the back started talking again. Dr. Jumu also spoke at this time, confirming Amu's statement, but Majestic Teeth did not come from scratch after all, so it is not as impactful and symbolic as Moon Bear. To study this phenomenon, it is also necessary to there is no rush. Did you really conquer it in the Chengdu area? A reporter from Yuansu Daily asked directly at this time. At this time, Jumu frowned and said, of course. Is this something recorded by the Elf Bull, or Yuansu Daily suspects that there is something wrong with the Elf Bull record? Well, Dr. Jumu's main research project is ancient Pokémon and Pokéballs. Some of his doubts reach the giant piece of wood. Well, of course I don't doubt that there is something wrong with the Pokeball system, but there has never been such a thing before, so it is inevitable that someone will. The reporter from Yuansu Daily also wanted to explain. However, Eminem said very calmly at this time, of course, it was in the Dungia Valley. I conquered it with the ranger. Since Yuansu Daily has questioned it, I think your company can arrange an exclusive interview with the ranger afterwards. Seeing Eminem dragging the rangers in, his doubts grew louder, and the reporter from Yuansu Daily had no choice but to shut up. At this time, Eminem smiled and said, as for why there wasn't before, geniuses are very rare. Just like before Mr. Dan Emperor, there was no undefeated god of war, right? Just like Mr. Dandy is good at winning, I'm also good at cultivating ancient Pokémon. Recently, I also cultivated an ivory pig with awakening characteristics. Ahem. Of course, this ivory pig is still in the northern part of the Lake of Wrath. Maybe you Unto Daily will also interview the sick and injured Pokémon adopted by the Pokémon Service Center. I think some people still need to calm down, so they use grandpa's Pokémon or something. Hahaha, I said too much. It has nothing to do with today's press conference. Hahaha. After Eminem dropped explosive news one after another, he let out a friendly laugh that was not directed at anyone. Chapter 748 Rushing to the scene. The press conference ended in a friendly and peaceful atmosphere, although there were a few incidents during this period. Generally speaking, academic experts and scholars were very excited about the new discoveries made by the Giantwood Research Institute. For Dr. Jumu and Eminem, I share my attitude without being too self-respecting and admire them very much. Of course, they also knew that Eminem and Dr. Jumu definitely did not explain some practical aspects, but in terms of theoretical answers, there was no cover-up, showing the spirit of knowledge sharing. As for the unfinished part, it is the level of technical privacy, which does not conflict with knowledge sharing. The two are like specific methods of manufacturing nuclear weapons and specific solutions to various technical difficulties and principles of nuclear explosions. It is conceivable that for the public, it is believed that the birth of Moon Bear will further stimulate everyone's enthusiasm for Circle Bear, and even enthusiasm for all ancient Pokémon. At the press conference, Eminem also announced the existence of Majestic Tusk and Ivory Pig in his team, in order to slap his face, making everyone more suspicious that he is a trainer who prefers ancient Pokémon. At the same time, the reporter of Unto Daily, his performance at the press conference and Eminem's answers have also become the subject of reports. At the end of the press conference, Dr. Jumu also made an exception and let Eminem make the final speech because, of course, Eminem has not forgotten that he wants to advertise for the Mom Classroom launch event tomorrow, although those who want to know already know it. There is never too much hotness looking at this ancient Pokémon who had just been bred to be extinct, and talking about tomorrow's new potion conference. Everyone was reminded that he is not only a new trainer, but also an expert pharmacist. Invisibly, Eminem's aura of young talent became even more dazzling. Eminem had just left the press conference and immediately, and Zhao quietly got into Renji's car. He didn't want to be surrounded by reporters outside the press conference again. Then Eminem took out the illustrated book and saw a pile of unread messages on it. Zyarksha's, Sinokozumi's, Sister Kingmay's, Aunt Aries. Is there anyone with Sister Kiko? Out of curiosity, Eminem first clicked on Yukiko's sister's dialog box. Other people had sent messages, and Eminem might know the reason. Well, as for why Yukiko is the older sister, of course, it's because when I was adding friends before, Yukiko's sister was staring at the notes that Eminem changed. However, the result did not have any actual content. It was just a short video of a parent-child dance with Conan to celebrate the new year. It can be seen that Conan was very reluctant. Eminem estimated that it was because Conan watched the live broadcast and was discovered by Yukiko, so I sent a video to Eminem. By the way, after all, Eminem doesn't have the habit of taking the initiative to send New Year greetings to others, so that's why I saw this video now. Thinking that, although Yukiko was called sister, she was an elder after all, and took the initiative to wish her New Year's greetings. Eminem was a little embarrassed, so he gave her a New Year's greeting. I wish you happiness in your later years. As for Zyarksha's message, in addition to congratulating Eminem on the success of his press conference, she also mentioned that she will go to the Quartz City scene again in March to cheer Eminem on and remind him to blow up his grandson. Yuanzi urged Eminem to go to her place quickly in the evening. Eminem will have a real press conference tomorrow, and of course there will be a final rehearsal. Yumi asked Eminem if she wanted to cause trouble for the reporter. She obviously watched the live broadcast, but was stopped by the audacious Eminem. Sister Kingmay also congratulated Eminem on the success of the press conference and emphasized that Grandma also watched the live broadcast. Grandma Leixi didn't send any message, which means she is satisfied. Aunt Yingla's message was the most informative. First she complained about Eminem, not to be so hostile to the demon hunters, so as not to alert the enemy. Of course, Eminem can see that the main reason is that he doesn't want to get involved too deeply. If it weren't for Eminem's provocative remarks this time, Eri wouldn't even have shared with him some clues about the material of the ultimate alien beast that she learned from her when she defended KIO before. KIO, the one who committed the crime barber for assault and poisoning point. It is true that K-Day's ultimate alien beast material was also obtained from Enju City Point. If the news from the wizard reporter Ritter is correct, it means that Yuansu City Councilor Hunting Demon Yu acted as a middleman for the smuggling and even opened the door to facilitate the smuggling point at the press conference today after seeing Eminem taking the initiative to release hostility towards the demon hunting prison. Eri shared some clues provided by K-Day Point while Eminem was checking the information. Lion C had already driven him and Zhao AI to the Suzuki Hotel. Tomorrow's press conference will also be held in the auditorium of the Suzuki Hotel. Eminem also made the press conference feel like a rush, although Eminem is the protagonist of tomorrow's press conference. But again, it's not mainly Eminem who is busy. All he needs is Eminem's cooperation in publicity. The Suzuki group is very satisfied with the fat locking agent and hair synthesis agent developed by Eminem. When Eminem came to the assembly hall, he saw Yuan Z also busy. This is the first time Eminem has seen the garden is busy with business. Although I didn't inherit Aunt Tomoko's strength, I can still see a bit of competence and frivolity. Ah, Eminem, you're finally here. Come on, can you take a look at these manuscripts? Lygia will mainly speak, but when answering reporters' questions, I still need you to come. By the way, there is also the Spokesperson matter. I haven't decided yet. Yuanzi saw Amu and quickly pulled him over. Eminem's preparations were more relaxed than those of the previous few days, although it shows that genius is his true press conference. But, compared to today's ancient Pokémon evolution press conference, tomorrow's new potion press conference is Eminem's specialty. There is no need to prepare anything at all. The technology is all in your head. However, seeing how busy the garden was, Eminem was too embarrassed to be idle. He also had nothing to do and looked at the guest list and the speech script. The Suzuki group really invested a lot. Eminem discovered that the guest list even included the name of the champion Sakaki. This specification is not ordinary. Even at this moment, Sakaki arrived at the arranged scene. He seemed to know that Eminem was coming, and he said a few polite words to him. Eminem also acted like an adult, pretending to have forgotten the unpleasantness of the draw. Not bad. Young talents like you will be our key support in the Kanto region in the future. If you need anything, just tell me. Sakaki looked like an amiable and good leader. Eminem also knew that he was just being polite and wanted to say no. But, looking at his hairline, Eminem said in a strange way, our hair growth potion needs a heavyweight spokesperson. Sakaki, if you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 749 Forum. The next day, before the mom classroom press conference started, Eminem saw on the morning paper that Yuansu Daily officially apologized to Dr. Jumu and Eminem and said that it had fired the unprofessional reporter in this regard. Some people said that he deliberately instigated and deserved to be expelled. Others questioned that the Jumu Research Institute put pressure on the newspaper to prevent reasonable doubts. Of course, some people believed that the questioning was not very reasonable, but the behavior of the Jumu Research Institute was also unacceptable. Comfortable point. However, Jumu himself did not respond to this and also reminded Eminem that there is no need to say anything to these people. The time he has, it is better to use it in research or Pokémon training. As for the other one that is at the forefront of the limelight, it is naturally the demon hunting prison that Eminem mentioned without mentioning it by name. It is indeed not a glamorous thing to use Grandpa's ace Pokémon to participate in the rookie competition, but it is indeed not a foul. After all, there is a quota, and there are only 5 who ask to check the location and conqueror As for the remaining one, as long as he can direct it himself. However, it is indeed strange to be mentioned by others, especially when it is said to be weird by another seeded player. Compared with academic discoveries, this kind of news is undoubtedly more popular and discussed among the people, especially in the Quartz Alliance. Last night, Eminem noticed that there were a lot more discussions on the internet. Speaking of discussion, naturally both sides have supporters, but, of course Eminem has more supporters. In the final analysis, when it comes to Pokémon duels, the audience's biggest tendency is Mukayang. One is a year after his debut. He has to participate in 2 rookie competitions, and the last time he lost to the lottery. This time it is a chance to win the championship. The other one uses Grandpa's trump card to be able to compete. It's clear who is stronger. Moreover, when Eminem participated in the Kanto rookie competition, the information was easily found on the internet. It can be said that he had a typical grassroots background. After all, in the eyes of ordinary people, Eminem was not only an orphan, but also a pharmacy teacher, and he was just an ordinary person. Old pharmacist, and Arjang is the grandson of Aheo, the director of the inspection department. No matter how you think, everyone is acting more like Eminem. It's just that Eminem directly strangely hunted demons in this situation at this time, which really surprised many people. On the one hand, it makes people feel that Eminem is a little bit impatient, but on the other hand, it also makes people wonder whether that reporter was AGU. No, should I say, was he hired by the demon hunting family? After all, Kiruma Yu is the council member of Ensu City. Before the start of the press conference, Eminem was idly looking at the posts on the rookie competition forum. Before the rookie competition started, this forum was not so lively, but now it was revealed by Eminem at the press conference yesterday. The explosive speech stirred up the heat. What evidence does he have that the reporter was sent by AGU? I think this is a scheming man in Kanto who is taking the opportunity to slander our Johto players. Don't be fooled. The hope of Johto. Did anyone say that the reporter was hired by Arjang? By the way, who is AGU? People who use Grandpa's Pokémon? Future champion. I'm Grandpa, I'm here. Scheming supporters, don't laugh. My cousin's second uncle works at the Ensu City office. Councillor Yu is very angry, and the consequences will be very serious. The press conference may not be able to be held for a while. Johto's hope. Can a councillor from Ensu City take charge of the Suzuki group? His father can't even care about it, right? And, future champion. It's started. The press conference has already begun to warm up in the broadcast. Eminem is very indignant. Johto's hope is such a bad guy who says that those who speak for you must be your supporters. However, because the press conference had already begun, Eminem had to delete the entered content first, then close the illustrated book, and walk to the stage. It's just that after Eminem attended the press conference, the forum didn't quiet down yet. Instead, some people didn't mind the excitement, and started taking screenshots of the press conference live in the forum. What happened to the Suzuki group? Even in the Kanto area, if Councillor Yu opens his mouth, won't people buy face? The hope of Johto. Look, in the guest speech, Champion Sakaki came up to speak in person. Does this mean to indirectly support the quality of new pharmaceuticals? It doesn't count, right? Why doesn't it count? Look, Champion Sakaki said on the stage that his cat boss is going to use the hair exploding potion from mom's class. If everyone discusses it later, it will directly overshadow the hope of Johto. At the same time, Eminem also felt a little regretful. Sakaki ultimately did not endorse his own human hair growth products, but it's right to think about it. After all, it hasn't been approved yet. You can't let Sakaki endorse the potions used by Pokémon, right? But Sakaki still moved out his cat boss as a cat Pokémon. Cat boss not only has fur, but also has very high requirements for the quality of the hair, which is just right. However, this is not considered an endorsement by Sakaki. It is just a hidden platform. Where was that bully just now? Why don't you speak? Haha, the black ex-champion of Kanto really has the same temperament. This is Johto. The hope of Johto. Daodaoji Group has posted a message on its official blog. The Daodaoji shopping malls around the world will be connected to the mom classroom medicines at the same time. Can't you buy it everywhere? Although in terms of pharmacy retail, the most professional and comprehensive one is Giladu Pharmacy. As a comprehensive retail mall, DOC Shopping Mall also deals in pharmaceuticals. Many trainers will tend to go to DOC Shopping Mall to buy all the medicines in one go before departure. All supplies are purchased, point not to mention, in the Kanto and Johto areas, DOG Group and Giladu Group are cooperating, and many shopping malls are directly connected to Giladu Pharmacy. The DOC Shopping Mall is fully stocked, and it is a joke to say it is blocked. The information about your second uncle's cousin is also inaccurate. It can't be said that way. They only said that Senator Yu was very angry, but they didn't say what the consequences of being angry were. Maybe it was just incompetent rage. Huh. Why didn't he speak? Look, emergency news. A large amount of Junsha suddenly entered the city office. It seems that the police department launched some kind of surprise inspection. Why the police department? Has anyone been caught bribing Junsha? Councillor Yu angrily deleted what he wanted to reply and went to deal with the police department's inspection first. Indeed, he had said hello before, wanting to cause some trouble for the market circulation of mom's classrooms, potions. But the police is a response from the Ministry of Affairs too quick. And did you just go to the public office to investigate? Young people are just unreliable. Chapter 750 Processing. Yes, the effect of fat suppressing potion can inhibit fat synthesis. It is especially suitable for some Pokémon that eat a lot and have requirements for body fat percentage, but it's not suitable for Bulbasaur, Kirby, Iron Palm. These Pokémon need to accumulate fat, especially the thick fat characteristic. Eminem explained the precautions for fat suppression potion at this time. So, my little King is very suitable for it. As a guest, Lucia also took the initiative to pick up the conversation point. Yes, Lucia was also one of the guests at the press conference, and even a quasi-spokesperson. Different from yesterday's academic press conference, the mom classroom press conference is commercial in nature after all, and requires enthusiastic people like Lucia as a world-class coordinator and the winner of various glamorous competitions. Lucia can be said to be the king of idols among the younger generation. Being able to invite Lucia to the press conference was mainly due to the relationship between Dago and Mikri. Lucia is Michael's niece. Even with her uncle's request, Lucia, as a busy person, only arrived this morning. As for Mikri himself, after all, he is still the champion of Hone, and has not resigned. It is not convenient for him to come to Kanto to attend such a commercial press conference. That's right. If you're a Chinese Valentine's Day bluebird, if you're too fat, your float will be slower. Eminem said half jokingly at this time, but it is said that the fat suppressing potion is still developing a version for human use. Lucia specifically brought this up. No, to be precise, the development part has been completed and is currently undergoing step-by-step approval. And it is not only the fat suppressing agent, but also the hair exploding agent. It is just a drug for humans. The latter is more inclined to hair growth, rather than making the hair more gorgeous and strong. Amu immediately followed Lucia's words. That's really something I look forward to. Sometimes I also want to be lazy and sleep and more. Lucia also expressed her expectations for people to use fat suppressing medicine by joking, well, when the time comes please, while your Pokémon are using Pokémon potions, you can also try our human potions. Eminem immediately took advantage of the slope and said to Lucia on Lisakaki on the side, was a little confused. After all, he just said that his cat boss would try the hair exploding potion, although Eminem seemed to be saying this to Rukia now. Sakaki always felt that he was looking at her too. Previously, Sakaki didn't actually think there was anything wrong with his hairline. It was just a height that gave him a mature masculine aura point. But what Eminem said made me feel a little less confident. With Sakaki's speech at the beginning, the trial announcement of Cat Boss, and Rukia as the main guest, the atmosphere has been heated up, making the mom classroom press conference a successful conclusion. Both new pharmaceuticals will be on sale on February 1st. With the full cooperation of DOG Group, the distribution volume is trustworthy. After leaving the broadcast stage, Eminem breathed a sigh of relief, although he was not nervous. He was still a little more restrained when facing the camera point next to them. Sonoko and Leixi obviously changed their faces. Seeing this, Lucia said from the side, "The camera is the window for display. Both trainers and coordinators must adapt. Thank you just now, Miss Lucia. Otherwise I might have shown my cowardice." Leixi thanked Lucia at this time point. Although she has been away from her mother's magic clutches for a long time, Rika is still introverted in nature, which is completely different from the strong and expressive Hanamaru Hall owner. It is quite reluctant to ask her to do the press conference. As expected, Miss Lucia is still professional. Eminem praised Lucia point, but Lucia deliberately said at this time, "Don't think that I will forget that you just said that I need weight loss pills. No, I didn't mean that. I meant the other person." Eminem said sincerely point Sakaki. Sakaki left after saying hello to Tomoko and Shirao and ignored Eminem. PFFD. Champion Sakaki hasn't reached that level yet. Ahem. And I'm not the Spokesperson yet. I'll have to see the results, whether I want to be the Spokesperson or not. Rukia said responsibly point at this time. Sonoko looked at the illustrated book and exclaimed, "Ah, look at the news. Yumi took people to Ensu's city office and took away Counselor Yu. What happened 3 hours ago seems to have been revealed now. Yes, Senator Yu is still protesting to Junsha headquarters. What's the name?" Eminem asked immediately. "Let me take a look." They said they found Junsha and received instructions from Counselor Yu to strictly check the potions in Mom's classroom, but Counselor Yu did not admit it. Sonoko said after reading the specific news content point at this moment, Eminem's illustrated book rang, and it was still an unsaved contact. "Hello, how are you?" Eminem asked after getting through. "Congratulations. I also watched the press conference." A mature man's voice came over with his sensitivity to voices. Eminem immediately recognized the identity of the other party. "Mr. Adu, could you please make the call in person? I'm very interested in explosive hair potion." Junshus also need a good mental outlook when performing tasks to gain more recognition from everyone. Yumi from the Yuanzu Police Department also made suggestions. "I decided to purchase a batch of hair exploding potion and use it first on Yuanzu Junsha's wind speed dog as an example." Du said seriously at this time, "That's great. Then I'll ask my manager to talk to Yuanzu's Junsha department. It must be the cost price, and I'll also ask Junsha department to promote it for us." Eminem said happily point after Du congratulated Eminem again. He hung up the phone, as if he was calling just for this matter. However, Amu estimates that the little evidence discovered by Yumi is not enough to judge Demon Hunter Yu. Whether it is to appease Director Aheo or to avoid alerting the snake, he does not want to hold you accountable now. The congressman refused to let go, so he agreed to UNZHU Junsha's purchase of hair exploding potion. This was probably proposed by the United States. Eminem didn't say much. Compared to what was really going to be revealed, Councilman Yu's little gesture was nothing. Not to mention that Watari had already spoken point sure enough. Shortly after Eminem put down the illustrated book, Yumi also called. Things were much the same as Eminem imagined, and Eminem also promised Yumi to treat her to dinner when they meet again point. While Yumi claimed credit, she didn't forget to remind Eminem that Yu Counselor was very insidious, and some Junsa had connections with him. This almost made Yumi think of the smuggling case in this direction. From this, Eminem also estimated Director Aheo, who has always been cautious and striving for perfection, must also have a headache for his son, right? Contrary to what Eminem expected, Director Aheo has already blocked Councilman Yu. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.